All right, everybody, welcome back to the Meet the Bus podcast. This is episode 4. I am your host, Jeffrey Reckis, and today I have been so excited for this episode since I started this podcast, since I came up with the idea. The moment I came up with this idea, I knew I needed to have this person on. Who I have on today, he marched Guardians in 2014, Oregon Crusaders in 2015, 16, and 18, and finally Blue Knights in 2019 and 21. He was my C partner in 2018 and 2019. He's hands down the funniest person I've ever met in my life. He is the co-parent for our child, Kanye West, that is with the BK trumpet section as we speak right now.
That's still true. Yep, I made sure of that.
And it's also the 21st night of September. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on Dylan Ryder. Welcome on to the podcast, Dylan. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's really great to be here. I remember you telling me about this and you wanted to do this. And I was like, that's such a great idea, man. And then you were like, would you please come on as one of my guests? I was like, absolutely. What? 100%, bro.
I feel like the day I thought about it, I texted you and I was like, okay, I need to know from you if you think this is valid, because if you don't think this is valid, I don't think I'm going to talk.
I've watched every episode since. Also, I just want to say my age out plaque says 19, 20, 21. Therefore, I count 20. You know what I mean?
So it's like you aged out 3 different seasons.
Yeah, twice technically.
You just kept aging out. You're like, I'm never gonna age out. I'm never done.
That's true, yeah.
So how you been, man? What's been going on in life? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been doing really good. Ever since I aged out, I just threw myself into music more. I went back to finish my music degree. I'm about halfway through right now.
Where are you going?
Texas A&M University Commerce. Handful. We just acronym it to TAMUC. I'm doing music education. I hope to eventually. I'm thinking middle school.
Okay.
I taught lessons for a middle schooler, and I really enjoyed doing that. That was so rewarding and fulfilling. So
That's awesome.
Hopefully going to be a middle school band director. That's
That's super cool. That's cool because it's just beginning stages, just helping someone
Yeah. You're so excited about band. High schoolers and above, they're kind of jaded. And they're angry and they hate music. But my middle schooler loved music. He was so excited. I was like, we're going to play a scale. And he was like, we're going to play a scale? Yeah. So
that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So let's talk about just from that. I mean, what got you into music? How did you get into the music world?
So I think everyone kind of starts off in the same way with music, right? 6th grade band day where you get to pick your instrument. My dad played trumpet and he marched drum corps also. He marched Skyriders, I think in 91, 92.
Dude, they got such a sick logo.
They do.
Yeah. Whenever your dad wears a Skyrider shirt, I'm like, God, dude, bring it back.
Allegedly, they're bringing it back.
No way.
Allegedly, they're thinking about restarting it in Kansas or something. That's just word on the street that I've heard from him. I think there's been a little bit of a push from an alumni organization to kind of get it going up again. But so like I said, my dad played trumpet, and so he kind of put the expectation on me to play trumpet, and I was like, dog, but saxophone's right there.
So dude, you and Riley, bro. I swear to God.
I really wanted to play saxophone. That was my goal, was to play saxophone. And then they were like, all right, stick the saxophone mouthpiece in your mouth and try to make a sound. And for some reason, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't make a sound on a saxophone mouthpiece. Don't know why. I can do it now, just for the record.
Nice. That's an education major working out right there.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby. Woodwind Tech.
The next thing they did was they were like, all right, well, your dad played trumpet. And so they stuck a trumpet mouthpiece on my face. And somehow I made a really good buzz then. And they were like, you're a natural born trumpet player. And I've been struggling with this instrument ever since. I was really excited about the instrument when I first started, kind of because my dad played it a lot. He was in college and in high school, and he'd always try to give me pointers and tips. And when you're that age, you're like, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to hear anything from you.
Yeah.
Now I kind of wish I would have listened, because it would have saved me a lot of trouble later on down the line learning some stuff. But
yeah, I had a quick question about that, actually. There's something I always wanted to ask you throughout the years. Having a dad who had marched drum corps and who had played trumpet, and growing up, having a dad doing all that, like, did the inspiration to do drum corps or band or music in general, did any of that come from him? Did he kind of like talk to you about that, or did he kind of just like let you find your own journey?
Yeah, he introduced me to drum corps. I can't remember when exactly, but my first drum corps shows were somewhere around the 2011s.
Okay.
Something like that. I have this vivid memory of like buying these like boom whackers. I don't know, they're like inflatable tubes, and they were for Jersey Surf of all corps.
Yes,
I was like super hyped about Jersey Surf.
I think that was for the 2012 show. Dude, I remember buying those. I think I have those somewhere in a box. Oh my god.
Yeah, so we did something like that. We went to shows a lot. We went to San Antonio a couple times, and I was just in it for like the hanging out and going to a hotel for a weekend. And eventually that kind of like internalized into me doing band for the rest of my life.
Hell yeah.
Kind of started as like, I always felt like my dad liked my sister more. And, you know, growing up, I realized that's kind of a dumb thing to think about. But so I kind of wanted more things to connect with him. And so I chose band. I chose trumpet, even though saxophone was right there.
I know.
I chose band. I chose trumpet. I marched my first season ever just because he really pushed me to do so. You know,
I was going to say, what like kind of inspired you? Did anything inspire you to go to the first audition? Or did you kind of just like, was it kind of just like, okay, hey, you should go do this thing because it's going to really help you out in the future. And you don't understand now, but you will later. Like, go do it.
Absolutely. It really was the second thing, really. It was, hey, you're not going to understand. You're going to kind of hate this, but I'm sure you'll love it. And so, I mean, my dad was right. He's also the reason I kept doing it, because if I had my way, when I marched Guardians in 2014, I was literally texting him every day, like, yo, come get me. I don't want to be here. Come get me.
I was going to talk about that. Oh my God. So did you go right to Guardians, or did you audition anywhere like before Guardians, or was it just like Guardians is a local group, go there?
I think my first audition was either with Crossmen or Genesis. I think it was Genesis, it was Genesis. I remember now, because my very first audition camp ever, I accidentally walked into the girls' locker room. So that was really embarrassing. I didn't bring any shower shoes, and so I thought, let's just shower in my tennis shoes. So that was really embarrassing.
Yeah. Clean feet.
And
that's terrible. That's a terrible joke. Cut me.
At some point in the audition camp, my nose started bleeding, like while we were playing. And then they were like, I want you to use that much air when you play. I got cut.
You were like, no, this isn't air, bud.
No, my nose just started bleeding. I don't understand. I got cut from there, and I wasn't like too upset about it. I was just like, oh, whatever. I'll march next year or whatever. And then eventually the opportunity kind of presented itself to me. I don't even remember how it came to this, but my dad, like, I guess he sent me something and was like, hey, Guardians is this brand new corps. They're open class for the first year. They're based out of like Seguin, which at that point was like 3 hours or so away from me. Not that bad. Pretty local.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's some small town. I think now they're from DFW area. They shipped around a lot, but he just sent me this, and I was like, sure. Not even really thinking that there was any way I'd ever get contracted, right? And so I just sent in just this random, really bad audition tape. I think I found it a couple of years ago, and I was like, "Dog, they took this."
Dude, we got to get that out of the archive.
I don't know. I think I do. It's probably archived on some YouTube channel. One of like the 7 I've had to make for drum corps at some point.
Oh my God. Do you ever go back and like watch some of those from like your earlier years? Because I like every once in a while, like if I go like look at my channel for some reason, like my personal one, and I go see like those old video assignments, especially like 2017 and 2016, when I was like, bro, I should be fucking making Boston every year. I would like
those Day of Reckoning assignments. Yeah.
I would watch those video assignments back, and I'm like, bro, I kind of sucked my rookie year. Like my marching was ass. What was I thinking? Like I'm watching it back.
Good, and then you go back and you're like, what?
Look at my technique, dog. What the fuck is wrong with
everything? My playing, my technique. Like
I couldn't play on the move. Like you just hear feet in the sound the whole time. Sound like I'm dying. Like what am I thinking?
So I think for Guardians, I think I paid like $100 for my first year or something like that. Or my dad paid $100 for my first year. It was a really cheap, because I joined in like very, very late. And they had this weird like move-in schedule of like, we did a week-long camp essentially, and then you did like a week off, and then you actually moved in. And so like after that first week, I don't know how I went back. I don't know.
So is it like a week of move-ins, or is it treated like a camp where you kind of rehearse every day and then you go home, and then when you actually did the move-ins, that's like, normal drum corps kind of schedule?
No, it was actual move-ins. Like we moved in for a week. It doesn't sound right, but I vividly remember it being like this. We moved in for a week.
2014. So
yeah, true. And an open class corps. Yeah. That's almost 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
We're getting old out here, dude. It was hard.
Old.
Like last week, I had to go back and watch 2016 clips to regain some of those memories back, so I could write stuff down for Riley's episode, because it was just especially talking about I haven't had a 2017 person on yet, and I don't know what will happen when I get to that point, because like I said in the last episode, I have 3 memories from 2017, and they're all me running somewhere. So they're just running in a certain location, and that's all I remember. So if I talk to anybody about it, I'm like, you remember that time we ran up that hill with tubes in our mouth trying to breathe? That was crazy.
There's a reason that there's a separation in between the 16 and the 18 in my marching experience at Oregon. You know what I mean?
And we will get there. We will get there, folks. So in the open class summer, since we're already just on that topic, so just kind of give, again, I think you kind of got into it a little bit, but give a little bit, just an overview of the open class experience, what that schedule is like, and kind of just overall what the experience is like.
I have to preface this conversation by saying that Guardians, this was 10 years ago, right?
Right.
Guardians
time.
is an entirely different core. The experience for a current Guardians member is going to be totally different than what I had. And they're established now. They've been around for 10 years. I was a second year ever existing member. Right? I have a little pin that says Guardians open class founding member or whatever.
OG.
It's like a block of wood. I don't know. They were really big on the trees back then or something.
That's pretty cool though.
So there's a lot of struggles that come with open class that a lot of people don't necessarily think about, especially if it's a starting core like that. So we ate chicken, cheese, and rice pretty much every day, to the point where that was the hype, is that we would run around screaming that we were having chicken, cheese, and rice. And it was good, right? It was great food. Got a little old after a point.
Yeah.
Also, I was such a tick. I was such I was the kid. I was the guy. I was the guy just messing up.
You were the tick your rookie year?
Absolutely. 100%.
Oh my God.
100%. I was not good at all.
I feel that's just everybody's rookie year, because you think you're hanging with everybody because you can survive a show, and then you do years of it, and then you look back and you're like, oh my God, I was barely surviving.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Barely making it,
especially since I had some conflicts or academic issues, we'll say, my first year of high school, and so I didn't even really get to do marching band my first year.
Oh,
so drum corps was kind of my first real marching band, essentially. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what was that like? I know a lot about just open class rehearsals and kind of how schedules and what kind of happens and how those are blocked out. Is there anything different for an open class rehearsal? Obviously this is 10 years ago, but what were those like? Are they running it with the same intensity? Is it more of a learning base because it's open class level? So are we more about the teaching, or are we competitive? What were the vibes, if you can recall?
So we weren't really competitively focused. I think at that point it was more about hey, this is our second year ever. We need to prove ourselves, right? We need to make our name for ourselves, and we're kind of establishing the idea of what Guardians will be for years to come, essentially.
Yeah.
And so that's really what the rehearsal schedule was. What do you want people to say about you, right? You're a new open class corps. Why should people care about the Guardians or whatever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we kind of rehearsed with that mindset of why would people care about us? Let's make people care about us, right? Let's do something. Let's make them care about us. Let's go out there and let's be excellent, and let's not let them deny that we were excellent, right? Let's go prove ourselves.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of how the rehearsal structures were run. And I think even if you're not necessarily a starting core, I think open class kind of gets that mentality, right? Because in general in the DCI community, it's changing now, right? But open class is kind of looked down upon,
especially the years that we marched. It was definitely especially the years we marched. I think they get so much more love now, and they need to keep getting more love. like just more exposure in general. And I think overall, like flow marching is doing a really good job of getting everybody exposure, doing a better job of trying to do that. I think they still center around, you know, their faves, which is like, you know, everybody wants to see, you know, Blue Coats, Blue Devils, and whoever.
Yeah, I get, the Course with Money have like the wow factor. I get that, but there's a lot of really good content within open class courses that kind of gets overlooked just because they have the word open in front of the word class. You know what I mean?
And so you're not seeing them like on the stream for, you know, a regional or like a cool show during the week. You know what I'm saying? Or it's like some top 8 shows. So just that you don't see them on the schedule. It's like, oh, well, fuck it, I'm not going to watch it. And it's like, but some of their shows are really cool. And like, you know, a lot of people that come from those groups are like super talented. Some would say even more talented than people in world class.
Absolutely.
But you know what I'm saying? Like those kids work, those people just, they work just as hard as the people in open class. And I think that was always the misconception, was that like open class is a bunch of babies and world class is like the adults. And it's like totally not true at all.
Yeah, I think that kind of comes from like open class tends to have more high schoolers or like high school focused people, and then world class tends to be more college, especially like upper level world class.
Oh yeah,
the ones that they all see happens to be like a bunch of college students.
Yeah.
But to say like this misconception of that like the high schoolers somehow work less hard or aren't as good is really the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
because
so
like,
stupid.
Some of the greatest people I've ever marched with came from like open class, right?
Oh
like,
my God, yeah. Dude, like Noah Grenard came from SEVC. And like that dude's been like all over the place, and he's super talented and like an incredible like musician and writer and all this stuff. And like he started at SEVC, and like pretty sure he got got a ring with them like rookie year in 2015.
Yeah,
but like
Joey.
Still. And then Joey too. Joey started at Guardians.
Joey got a ring. Yeah, Joey started in open class.
Joey DeShera is going to be on the show for
shout
sure. Shout out Joey. Shout out Joey. Shout out Noah. I want Noah to be on the show. Joey's going to be on the show at some point.
I'm excited for that one.
But going back to Guardians, so you talked about like calling your dad every day and like asking him to go home. So what kind of kept you there every day? Because obviously at some point you could have just been like, yo, for real, like come pick me up, I'm done. So what kept you going every day?
It really was him. Like, again, if it was my choice, if I legitimately wanted him to come pick me up. I didn't want to be there anymore. I hated it. Not because of the organization or because of like the
because experience. Of the cheese and rice, dude. You're like, fuck this. I want to eat McDonald's.
It was because I was like a 14-year-old kid who didn't really have a work ethic at that point, who didn't really understand.
Who does at 14? Like
some people I've met, right? But not me. I was just some pampered kid, right? I was like, it's hot and I'm uncomfortable and my feet hurt and I don't want to be here anymore. But
which is like most 14-year-olds attitudes, which is like totally reasonable, which is like, bro, why did I start doing this shit at 14?
But
that's nuts.
My dad would say something that I carried with me through the rest of my drum corps career. He started it by saying like, oh, you having a good time yet? And I'd be like, no, I hate it. It's awful. Please come get me. And he'd be like, all right, well, I can't do anything right now. Go ahead and text me at lunch. Just go to lunch. And tell me how you're feeling then. And I'd be like, okay, fine. I'll get through one block and then I'll text him at lunch. And this is the time he's going to come get me, right? And so I'd get to lunch. I'm busy. Hello? Go ahead and make it to dinner. Okay, fine. Dinner will be the time that he comes and gets me.
So let's work to dinner.
Yeah, and so that's what it was. It was just like, if you can just get through 4 hours of right now, then if you can just get through block to block, if you can survive block to block to block, text me tomorrow and see if you still want to come home. Text me 2 days from now, 3 days from now, a week from now. That's how it was. He just kept like pushing it back, just being like, ask me later, ask me later, ask me later. And then eventually I just stopped asking because I really enjoyed it. And
you're just like, I did make it block to block.
And I took that with me for the rest of my marching experience. After my first year, maybe 18, but other than that, I never hit a wall. There was never a time where I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go home.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I never hit a wall because any hard block that came about, I'd just be like, all right, well, this might suck right now, but it can only last a maximum of 4 hours, and then I'm done. Then I'm done with whatever crappy stuff's happening right now, and I can move on to whatever the next thing.
Take a break from it and keep moving. So with that, like learning if I just make it block to block every single day, having that mentality to just make it through. After doing that, what was the thing in your head, or was there a moment for you where you were just like, oh, I'm going to come back and do this for like year after year after year? Was there ever a moment, or was it just like, that was kind of fun, I'd go do it again? Like, what was it for you?
There's really nothing like performing in front of crowds. And I think that's what really drew me, was the performing in front of the crowds aspect of it. Right. Because like, even though you're just this brand new open class core, people are still getting up and clapping for you. You still scored like I think we got like a 64 at the end of the season for only performing 3 shows. That's pretty decent.
Do you only do 3 shows in like a full?
At that time we did a very, I did 3 weeks of move-ins, 3.5 weeks of move-ins for 3 shows, and one of them got rained out. Right. So I only did 2 shows. I did a San Antonio show, and then I did like a home show at Mesquite or something like that. And I messed up at the San Antonio show pretty bad, so it wasn't even that was a good show.
Home show, dome show.
Home show, dome show. That's right. Yeah. I think it was just the performing in front of crowds aspect. Eventually, I kind of like mellowed out. I stopped messing up so much. I became less of like the person nobody liked. I made one friend, and that turned into like a couple more friends, and that turned into like a whole section of friends eventually. And so just like getting to meet all these people, the experience of like learning something new, finally feeling like I was good at something really, or like that I was getting better at something especially. Yeah. So that's what really like pulled me back year to year to year, was the feeling of like, hey, I'm a little good at this, in my humble opinion. I was like,
and like you worked hard for that. Like you worked your ass off. And especially I feel like, you starting, we both kind of started at 14, starting at that young age. And I feel like it's such a confidence boost, like getting through a season like that, when the odds are kind of stacked against you starting as soon as you can as a kid, where like, there's plenty of people, most likely everybody's going to be older than you. So you're kind of like the little kid here where it's like, oh my God, if this annoying little kid like messes up, like it's kind of against you. So getting through that and working hard every single day and making it to the end of a season and like getting to perform and making all those friends, like there's such like a confidence boost in that, where it felt like for me, I'm sure it felt like this for you, but it felt like, it's like, well, I just did this. And like, I worked so hard and I improved throughout a year. I feel like I can do anything now from this point. Like if I just put this work ethic towards anything, I feel like I can just keep going and going and going.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was like, if I can get over drinking like literally yellow water and like the hottest turf field or the hottest like asphalt field in the middle of Texas that you can possibly imagine, I was like, I can do anything.
I can do anything now, man.
Yeah. And so, all those friends really is especially what kept me going. Like,
that's awesome.
Like Baxter, remember Baxter Irwin? Shout out Baxter.
Dude. Shout out Baxter.
Yeah. I marched with him in 14, and then I got the chance to march with him again at Blue Nights in 19. And we did this thing at Blue Nights where like at the end of spring training, you're given your paracord, and then the paracord comes with like a Shaco link, and you'd have to go up to a vet, and the vet would give you your Shaco link. And that's that's a really special, I like those tradition things. I'm really like tradition focused guy. And so I asked Baxter, because I was like, you were there for my first year. I'm here for your last year. I was like, I need you to give me a Shaco link, because we ended up at the same spot. And so like all those people that I met really brought me back. Yeah.
That was the coolest thing about like OC and BK, were the traditions that were
very
like
heavily tradition focused. Absolutely.
Yeah. And those were my favorite things too. Like whenever I was looking to move to like a different group when I was at OC, I was like, I'm really looking for a group that has like tradition based in their group. So speaking of OC, why did we go to OC in 15? Why did you go to OC in 15? Talk about that.
Okay, so it wasn't my first plan. I think you may know this, but maybe not. I was actually contracted for Madison Scouts in 15.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember a little bit about this story. Go ahead and tell it though.
Yeah, I just so I was really vibes focused. I'm a really like, what's the vibe? What are the vibes like? How's it feeling?
Vibes?
If I'm really like, if I'm going to do something for a whole summer, I really want to have fun. And I'm not saying that like Madison hasn't changed, but at that time during that season, it felt so like frat boy-y kind of. Yeah. Maybe not even frat boy is the right word. I didn't really have this passionate or like love for music at this time. I was like, I like music, but it's not like this full-fledged passion yet. And everyone there was just so like into being a Madison Scout. They were like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure like if you love that, then you're going to love that. Right. Oh yeah. At that time, that's how it was. The visual caption head was literally like a drill instructor from the Army.
Oh my God.
It was pretty
that's
serious.
Intense. That's
and so I just didn't like the vibe that much. And I didn't really fit in. And so I declined the contract eventually, and I just said, I'm not really interested in this. You guys can have a great summer.
I'm too good for you.
No, that's not what it was. I like.
No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah. I was a high schooler, right? And so I wasn't personally, in my opinion, I also really wasn't up to the work ethic that they were going to put onto the field. And so I think that if I had went and marched that year, I would have, it would have set me up to be to like maybe be more like score focused for the rest of my career,
or just so like more serious and not worrying about like what I feel like actually matters in the activity. Like what we end up finding out, what I feel like, and what, you know what I'm saying, if you do the activity for many years, what you kind of figure out what the activity means to you. I feel like, especially what I heard from my brother during those times when he would just go audition, and then kind of watching from the side and seeing their attitude, it felt very like, you know, very serious and locked in. So I can understand at that age, I was just like, whoa, like that is like so much. And it's like, it can be intimidating, especially as a kid in high school, like going to auditions like that, where the environment at a camp is like almost cutthroat and a little intense. And you're like, oh my God, like it can get really overwhelming for sure.
Yeah. I'm a little goofy, right? Like, you know me, right?
Oh my God, every day.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a very serious person at all. And so
absolutely
that culture just didn't really vibe with me that much. And so eventually I was still looking for places to march. I had this like weird, it was called like it's kind of like a trainee position at academy where like you're not an alternate, but you'd still do spring training with them. And then at the end of spring training, you just go home, which
really?
I didn't want to do that. I was not.
Would you have to like pay? Or
yeah, you'd have to like pay and everything. I don't think they do this program anymore.
I hope not.
I know. I think it's gone. But like, it was supposed to set you up to be an academy member like the year after. It was for the people who they didn't want to cut, but they still wanted the money.
Oh, that's stupid. That's so dumb. That is literally just to like collect money from somebody, because you know they're not giving that person like an opportunity to like even touch the field.
Yeah, my dad was like, "That's a scam," because you weren't an alternate. I need to specify. You were not an alternate. You were very specific about you not being an alternate.
You were not the 154. Like it's
you were like the 168 at that point. Right? And so then from there, I just like started throwing out. I was like, where am I even going to march? Yeah. So I started throwing out stuff, and then I heard about the Oregon Crusaders. I don't really remember how, but I heard about the Oregon Crusaders, and I was like, okay, I'll just send them like an audition or whatever. And so eventually, it was like late May at this point. I joined them for the last camp. I sent them an audition. I got a call back to the camp. I joined them at the last camp. I think I performed, or I gave my audition in front of Brad Green. But I don't really remember this.
Shout out Brad.
Shout out Brad. That dude's really scary, but
so scary.
In a good way, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think at one point my dad was like, hey, he like emailed the tech at the time. I think his name was James Newfer or something like that. So he emailed the trumpet tech. And so he was like, hey, so what is like the actual chance that he gets in or whatever? Mm-hmm. And I think he responded like, honestly, if he can hold the trumpet and he can march in time, he's probably going to get a spot.
He's probably coming here this summer.
Yeah. And so I went there. I really enjoyed the vibe.
I just remember the way James Newfer, that's the only like memory I have of him, is the way he ran. You remember with like the arms thing, just like wherever we went, like in 16, I remember he was just like, okay, well, we're gonna like practice like performance, like how you gotta control your breath in performance. And then he was like, let's go. And he like put his arms out like this and just started sprinting. And he's like, come on. Like,
no, I don't remember a whole lot from 15. Cause again,
I was gonna say
at this point or whatever.
I have no idea. Like, I feel like even in 16, I feel like I didn't hear that many stories about 2015. So I was just wondering from you, because I was trying to like collect any memory I had from, 16 hearing about 15. I was like, I got nothing. So from you, like, do you have any core memories, or like, is there anything that like sticks out from 15?
I think the thing that you guys talked about in the last episode about OC and how like special the like sitting down as a whole family was at, I think it was Cascades, the one with like the
Dave the Tree thing.
You remember that lion mural with like the lion like coming out like painted terribly? I have a photo of it. I can send you it later. But
I love that.
It's such a terrible like painting. No hate.
No, it just looks so old. And every year we would go back, it would get more like crackled and just like fading away. And it'd be like, well, I see like the Panther's face in 18.
Yeah, it was there. We sat down and we had that. I just had such a good time in that moment of being like, kind of what you said. Like, I see Tristan Rieger, he's struggling too. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a 15-year-old kid. This guy's like 18. He's like a 4-year vet, 3-year vet at this
He
point.
made a mistake.
He made a mistake. He's
chill.
saying that he's struggling and that it's hard. And so it's this like openness that I really enjoyed. And so I was like, okay, that's a good core memory.
Oh, I have another question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Sorry if I totally broke that up. I just had this on my brain, but like hopping into a world-class drum corps now, is there any difference in like, you know, like expectations, like staff attitude, like just overall like environment and work? Like, was there like, could you tell like there was a difference, or was it kind of just like same?
World class is kind of strange, especially from there's like this hard like culture kind of divide between like the people below 12 and people above 12. You know what I mean? Because we had this experience ourselves. And so I feel like Oregon, especially being so new to world class, this was their second year world class, I think. They kind of had that same mentality of like, we need to prove ourselves. We're going to be great. Like, we need to be great. And staff was pretty hard on us, really. And that's just because, like, again, you're like a brand new world-class corps.
Yeah, we're
going to be good. We had a pretty decent show in 2014. So we need to come back out and keep swinging as hard as we can and just keep this like momentum going forward. And so it was a very similar vibe, I feel, to open class. I think in a sense
like, of like proving yourself, you know?
Yeah, I think like below 12, not even 12, but like 15 maybe. Below 15 and like above 15, they're very different. Like the below 15 just feels very similar to open class. I don't want to say that it is, because I don't want to degrade either one.
No, it's just like in terms of like, it feels more like educational than you're competing for like numbers and like all of that stuff. It's more of like we're training and we're like teaching you like the right skills that you need to know, become like a better musician and a better performer. I feel like especially like 2016, 2017, that was all like working on my craft and just like kind of getting better at drum corps and how to do drum corps. I feel like those groups kind of teach you how to do the activity, how to be a performer, and what this kind of all looks like, you know? And then like, as you move on 15 and up, it's like, okay, we're competing for Saturday night. If you're here now, you know the expectation, you know what this activity is about, you know what the level of you know what the level is, and you know where the bar is at, so you know what to come with. You know,
I really think that open class especially has that idea of like it's education focused, and but I think there's like a certain element, because it is a scored activity. I do think that a lot of the time spent in Oregon was a little bit focused on the scores a little bit too much. Like, because I feel like if you're literally below like 15, 14, 13, 12, other than like your own like personal core, like getting the highest score ever and from your course history, I don't think scores should really matter at all. I don't think any decision made anywhere at any level should be about the scores. Yes. I think everything should be focused purely on the member aspect, or like the member experience, like purely. Like, I think if you're teaching in this range if you're teaching at all, first off, you should be focused on making sure that is the member having a good time? Are they having fun? Because if they're not having fun, they're not going to want to work. They're not going to want to do anything. Right. Yeah. Like, you think about any time that we had some troubles in like 18, the vibe was just like everyone's kind of angry and they don't like it that much. Yeah. So we're just why would we try as hard? Right. Yeah. As opposed to, there were some moments in 16 where or even 19 where like we were having a great time. They were very member experience focused at Blue Knights. And so everyone wanted to work so much harder because we knew we were being taken care of, and because we knew that they had our best interests at heart. I think what was this question about?
So it was the difference between open class and world class.
Big tangent.
I love that you did that though. No, like, take it. Like, that's the best part, is like, we're going to get to all of this stuff, but I love that you just went ahead and took it. So like from there, obviously, you know, we moved from 15 to 16. So another question I ask is, so what was it like being a 2-year vet for the first time? Like, overall, coming back, you're in your 3rd year overall, you're a 2nd-year vet for the first time. Talk about, I haven't talked about that on this show yet. Talk about like what goes through your head as a 2nd-year vet, because I can tell you what went through mine, but tell me what went through yours.
I think 2nd-year vet kind of gets like a bad, it's almost as seen as kind of like a bad title to hold, right?
Yeah, it's almost like if someone tells you they're a 2nd-year vet, you're like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's a very common thing to be like, stop like second year vetting someone, or like, because I just feel like everyone walks into their second year like, yo, I'm not new anymore. I know some of these people, and
I know their
like,
name,
even though all the staff is like entirely changed.
Yeah.
Like, I know some of these people. I have a semi good relationship with the staff, and so
I know what I'm
like,
doing.
yeah, you kind of get this like I had an ego, especially a little bit. I think in 16, where I don't know. I was like really close with Tristan. And I was really close with like Luke Pistachio, and then like there's some other people from 15, and so I kind of had this like mentality of like, yeah, like an ego, not like better than you, but like
better I never saw you as
than like some people.
I never saw you as like an egotistical person. Like you were hilarious and goofy right off the jump. So I never saw you as like, you know, the prototypical like 2-year vet. That's just like, all right, guys, you know, I was here last year. Like, I know what we needed. Like, no, you were like silly, goofy.
I'm glad to hear that.
I feel like a little bit as a performer, like you have to have a little bit of ego in there because I feel like that comes from like confidence in yourself. And I feel like, you know, you're building that up throughout the years because you're getting familiar with how to do this and you're getting better year to year.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's really what it is that like you're so much different from like the first time you step on a field for a rehearsal setting versus the last time you step off at the end of the season. You're so much different. Like you know how to work with the staff better. You know how to efficiently work in a drum corps rehearsal. That it changes you. And then when you go into the next season, you kind of have this mindset of, oh, I already know how to do this. I already know how all this works. I already know the best way, or you think you already know the best way to do all this stuff. And so that's where you kind of get this like mentality of like second year vet syndrome, right? And so I'm glad that you think that I didn't have that ego, but I'm willing to admit that I probably at some point definitely had some sort of that ego creep into it. And I wish I didn't. And I can't think of any specific examples, but I'm sure
I think it just happens. I think it just happens though. Cause like, I mean, when I went back to high school and I came back for my second year, I was better about it in my third year. But like when I came back for my second year, coming off of high school, and I was this high school kid who did world-class drum corps, I had a massive like ego when I was like 16 or 17. Like I thought I knew everything and how to do everything. And, you know, I thought I was like hot shit. And like, you know, getting cut from boss, I was like, bro, how? I already did like a year of drum corps. What do you mean? And like, I feel like as, you know, you keep going throughout the years, especially, you know, starting at a lower scoring, lower tier core, you start thinking about like, you know, where's the end goal for me? Where's the next place that I want to go? Was there ever like a place in mind for you where like, you were like, this is the end goal. This is the place where I want to be. Or were you kind of just looking for like a best possible situation?
No, I was from like, obviously everyone has like the dream corps, right? I think at that point, mine was like Carolina Crown. I really wanted to do Crown at some point, but I knew that like, I've always really been focused on like building up places from the bottom. My parents didn't want me to go back to Guardians, just some organizational issues that they worked out by this point. It doesn't matter anymore. So I went to OC, and then they said that they didn't have a problem with OC, so I was perfectly fine to go back. Like my dream was to be Tristan Rieger, the 4-year vet.
Yes.
To be there was this guy named Scott Steele, who was like a 7-year vet at OC, and that was like unheard of. He had an open class ring, and he built that program up to where it was at that point. And so that was my goal, was to be that dude, the super vet that we call him, essentially. Yeah. I really wanted to be like Horn Sergeant at some point. That was my goal.
Like lead a group, like from like starting from the bottom and leading that group and being part of that change.
Yeah. Like you can go march. You can go be a Carolina Crown where they're already well established. They're like, if you like, you don't really, you kind of, in a sense, have a way to like push the organization forward and like leave your mark or like be remembered.
Right.
But like not like anywhere like a lower,
like Oregon Crusaders, right?
Like
where
Oregon
it's
Crusaders, or like an open class core, or like any of the cores that score below 15, because or that are just starting or whatever, because it's all about building something up and taking this legacy that you've created and passing it on to the next people. And then like the years that you're putting in now will hopefully set up for success down the future.
Yes.
Didn't really work out that way, but that was the dream. That was the goal. I'll be like a 5-year. I'll spend all 6 years here if I have to. Important
question here, like dying question. What was your vote on the Mall America? I think I'll ask every 16 person this.
Forget it. Never forget it. That was like the most like what is going on right now moment of my entire drum corps career.
I never knew why. Like when the meeting was called, I was like, why are we doing this? Like we have a free day. It's scheduled.
Yeah,
it's
my goal though was to go. My vote was go. I said go. I said Brass is in like 15th. Brass is scoring very well. I was like, it's not my fault that you guys scheduled a free day on like the day before regional.
Yeah.
So I want to take the free day because we haven't had a free day in a couple weeks.
We haven't had a free day besides a laundry day.
The last one was like the the Portland performance, if you remember those, where we'd all perform in the town square.
And then afterwards we get like the rest of the day in Portland.
You get the rest of the day off, yeah. And so like you get like 4 hours to hang around. It's mostly a laundry block, really. That's what it is.
Yeah. You got like 4 hours to go get dinner somewhere, and it's like you got to come back because we're leaving.
Yeah, I wanted the free day. I wanted to go to Mall of America. Dude, what the heck? I still haven't been.
Who didn't? You know?
Literally. Apparently the Garden, the Battery.
When they said that, I was like, they are lying.
They are
lying to us right now. I was like, there's no way. They all like, yeah, no, we want to be here today. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you do not. Speaking about that, though, I think that was something you kind of brought it up earlier, but, you know, bringing up that the Brass was in 15th, that was something that was like shared with us by staff like regularly, I feel like throughout the season, where it was like, yo, you guys are scoring here. And like, let's not talk about it, but you know what I'm saying? And it was kind of, I feel like that summer, what made it different from the other two, I feel like that was like the summer where the captions were split into like the drum corps was split into 3 captions. It wasn't like one drum corps, one group. It was like, here's the Oregon Crusaders brass section and the guard section and the percussion section. And it was like,
it was kind of brutal, honestly.
It was kind of like put against each other. And I didn't quite understand this at the time until I had 2018, honestly. And I was like, oh, this is a drum corps. Like this is a group of people. You know what I'm saying? Because even in 17, it still felt like, you know, this is brass, percussion goes over there, and guard people go over there. And it wasn't until 2018 I experienced where it was like, no, we're all going to get to know each other, and we're all going to like, you know, we're all in this fight together, you know?
There's a lot of things that I look back at Oregon now from the perspective of like a much more mature person, just from someone who's seen how a drum corps is like meant to be run, or like how like in a perfect world or like a good world, how things should be handled. There's a lot of like anger that I had at Oregon that was really unwarranted. It was anger like towards other people when it really should have been anger about like the way that we were having the situations, or like the things that were going on, or like how we were being treated. Not that we were like, you know, being whipped and beaten every day, but like there were just little things that would like irritate me, and that would like bleed out into other people. And so I think 16 especially was the worst year for like the divide in corps, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, it really was like, this is the brass, this is the guard, this is the battery. Everyone,
and that's how people hung out. Like that's how people hung out. Like even though we're all together, like people only hung out brass, percussion, and guard. And so it was like, you know, as we'll get to it, like finally in 2019, like that was like so foreign to me that it was like, we're gonna bring all these. I want to get to it so bad. We're getting to it. I want to talk about, there was something that happened in that spring training of 2019 that was so cool for me that I want to talk about. But moving on through 16, I think we talked a lot about what happened in that kind of season, but something I didn't talk about, and where we kind of like actually hung out for the first time and really started talking besides just like in a rehearsal setting or whatever, was the Washington DC free day, which like I forget about from time to time, but then I remember that we actually did that. And I remember, I'm pretty sure it was like me, you, and like Nico. Forgot his like last name.
I think Nico, and then maybe Ray Sean. I remember like
I think so.
Like we all took like a Texas photo. That was a good free day.
That was a really fun free day. And that was like, because that was like my first actual like free day I got to do, which like, you know, with 2 weeks left in the season, who cares? But like, but like that was so cool because especially like rookie year, like I said, like I was like pretty quiet, didn't talk to too many people. So when it came time for like, you know, like 4th of July and like free days, I was kind of like, kind of on my own out here, and I knew like my trumpet section and all that, but like I was like quiet 15-year-old kid, so like it was super cool that day just to be hanging out with you guys. Like that was like the most fun day ever. Like DC is like definitely a core memory for me. Just because it was like, yeah, I got to hang out with some people on the free day,
100%. It was like probably, honestly, out of all the years, probably like not like my favorite year, but my favorite free day, probably for sure, was DC. It was a city that I'd never been to, that I never even like considered or like thought about it. But like, there's so much history there that's like so much fun to get into, and like you're like walking down the street, and you're like, oh, there's the White House.
Yeah,
and there's a Starbucks. That's a really strange like combination to see next to each other. You don't really think about it, but it's like an actual its own city. And then like the Washington Monument, you could just walk up to it.
Like the Lincoln Memorial, like that whole thing. Getting to see all of that was insane. Like that was awesome. That was such a fun day. That was a really good. Yeah. So as we go throughout the season, 16 ends. Good year overall, but from there, we move into 2017. Now, you took this year off. You didn't do this year. Do you want to talk about why you took that off?
We got a new brass staff. Mm-hmm. I did not like the new brass staff. I really did not like the new brass caption head. If you know, you know. That Lucas Oil fight, if you know, you know, right?
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. But there was like one camp, very vivid memory, where I was like, dude, I'm not doing this anymore. There's like one camp in 17.
Did you go to a camp in 17?
I went to a couple camps in 17. It was just like, it was Katy High School, I think, somewhere in there.
Yes. We ended up going there like all the time after that.
All the time. Or Seven Lake or whatever. And then so we, oh
my God.
The caption had made us run like 4 laps around like somebody like missed a release at an audition camp. And so like we had to like run around the setup, and like it was like 4 or 5 or 6 laps, and I was like, dude, it's an audition camp. Yeah. What are you doing?
I've never seen that.
It should not be about punishment. It should be about like, hey, you messed up. You messed up. That's fine. Don't do it again.
Or if anything in the back of your head, be like, that person's cut.
Is it really that big of a deal? It's not that big of a deal, dude. It's not that serious. It's just bam, bro. Chill.
You literally just brought back a memory for me. I completely forgot about this, but somebody missed a release in 17 in a full ensemble, and it was in spring training. And there was a certain chunk of the show that was, okay, if someone misses a release at this spot, I'm adding 4 laps. Because it started at 4 laps, and it was like, if you keep missing this spot, we're going to do it again. And if someone misses a spot, not only are we going to do it again, but I'm adding 4.
I think was this the 4-mile run?
We had 32 laps that had to be done before morning block the next day. So you had to figure out, there was like the visual staff watched us. They literally they made staff go out to the track, and it was at Cascade. And they were like, the staff will watch you, and you will tell them when you start and like when you finish, like how many laps, if you like stop in the middle, but like you have to do these laps before the next morning block, and it has to be done, and you have to confirm it with a staff member. And I'll never forget, I was like, why? Like this sucks ass. Like no one's happy about this. We're all just telling each other, guys, just go out there and get it done like now, because you don't want to be out there like tomorrow morning, like I said, there's one of my 3 memories. One of my 3 memories running.
Yeah, I heard about that all the time. It was like the mile run, that, and then the leadership having to polish everybody's individual instrument in the middle of like a warm up arc, because I think you guys had to like polish your instruments in between like every rehearsal or something like that. And so some people didn't do that. And so everyone, from what I heard, everyone had to like stand there and like hold their horns up while like Michael Freeney, Reagan Powell, like all ran inside, and like everyone had to go out and like polish the instruments again.
No, I do remember we did that. Yeah, no, that's real. I remember we had to do that. God damn it. See, I'm telling you, I put this shit away. Like I don't, like it used to be a thing, like, this is a good thing, but the way that the punishment happened was insane. So like we were at Mennonite, and I just remember it was a thing every day that when we got the brass block, like it should just be a normal thing that you fill your water jug up every single break. Fill your water up, get water. But some people didn't do that. And so I get it. Like people would come to block and they just wouldn't fill their jug up, and it's like, it's hot. Why are you doing that to yourself? Like have a full jug of water. Like even if you don't think you're going to drink the whole thing in a block, like just do it, because you're going to need it, and like people weren't doing that. So it was literally like, Bro, I remember one point, like somebody didn't do it. And this was like days in a row of people still doing this where they just didn't have their jug full, because while we did breathing to start blocks, like we would come into the center of the circle and brass staff would go around the circle, lifting everybody's water up. And I remember just looking at that. And it was one of the scariest things, because it was just like so much of that season just felt like scary. That was just the whole thing, was every brass block. I just had like anxiety, because it was just like, I hope I'm on point, because if I don't, I'm fucked. But like that one, I'll never forget, there was one kid who had done it multiple days in a row. I don't remember who it was, but like someone didn't do it again. They didn't fill up their full water jug. You know who takes the water jug and just like, so like the whole thing just empties out. And he starts walking like super slowly. And I'm on the other side of this circle. And I'm looking right across the circle at Michael Freeney. And he's just walking right at Michael Freeney. He goes, move! Like, Freeney just goes, and he just like steps back. And he just takes this water jug and he throws it 25 yards. I literally watch it like rainbow 25 yards down the field. And he's like, go pick it up. And I'm like, oh my God. Like there was a lot in that season. So I feel like every person I talked to who came back for 18 or just in general was just like, yeah, I took off that summer because I just didn't want to be a part of anything like that.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, like 2017 was insane. Like when you're getting told that your show is designed by 4 different people and 4 different ideas, like it kind of makes sense when you watch that show back. You're like, what the hell is this show? Like, what's the product? Like, I remember I remember like pulling into San Antonio and I was so excited because they were like, Dylan Ryder's gonna be here. I'm like, oh, thank God, bro. Like, let's, signs of positivity out here. And then I remember after the show, you're like, I forgot what I was watching. I forgot I was at a drum corps regional until I watched your guys' ballad. And I was like, oh my God.
I remember you guys were like, how did you like the show? And I was like, you guys are loud. Like you guys are definitely the loudest drum corps out there, but
yeah.
It's like ballad was great. I don't know what the rest of the show was doing. You guys like made a compass rose at some point.
We didn't know either. We had no idea what the show was, and they kept sitting us down throughout the season and trying to explain to us like the design, and it was like, what? And like you figure out that it was done by 4 different people's ideas of a show, and then props are there, but props never got finished throughout the year. They were just unfinished the whole year, and it was just like, well, we're gonna do it. We're gonna make it.
Sick uniform though. The only like digital print uniform I really liked from OC.
Really?
I thought they were okay when you compare it to the trees and then Jack Nicholson's face. Yeah,
well, I kind of liked Jack Nicholson's face. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of liked it.
Okay.
Because when we added the face paint, that's when I started to like the whole
but when we had the
uniform,
Shaco, I think the Shaco also had Jack Nicholson's face on it, right?
Yeah, the wrap around the Shaco too had his face, and I hated the plume and everything. It sucked. The Shaco side, but as soon as we got rid of those, it was hype.
Definitely.
So let's talk about 18. So you come back. Was OC in 18 like an option, or were you just like, I'm gonna see what else is out there? Like,
I think I auditioned at Blue Coats.
Yeah.
I got cut.
Was that the one where we caught you on the Snapchat and we're like, he's definitely at Blue Coats?
That might have been 17 actually, because I think Anna Quinnen texted me and like
I just remember seeing the picture and they're like, Dylan's definitely at Blue Coats.
I got cut, right? Of course. And then I after 16, my parents started to find some issues with the organizational aspect of OC, and so they kind of similar to Guardians didn't really want me to come back, didn't really want me to continue with that. So they pushed me to audition elsewhere. So I auditioned at Phantom Regiment. I got a callback, and I went to the callback camp, and I had this like terrible flu. I was so sick. Yeah. And like with brass players, like it affects you so much more because like
this is what you sound like.
That's what you said. It's just like
you can barely breathe.
You can barely breathe, and so you can't play the instrument efficiently, and you look like garbage, right?
And when you're nervous, you can already like your breathing's already kind of like restricted anyway. So it's just like
I worked so hard on the audition materials, and I think, and like maybe this is just me being a little bit vain, but like I think if I wasn't sick, I probably would have made that core.
I mean, probably.
Like, I had such a terrible tone. I went to the audition, and I'll never forget this because after the audition happened, they were like, Dylan, like visually, you made it. You made it visually. You scored like 9. They scored like a 1 to 10 scoring system. They were like 1 to 10. You made the core in a visual aspect, but like your musical was like a 3 or 4. Your tone is just like terrible. And I was like,
this is actually my tone.
I was like, I'm so sick right now. And then they were like, yeah, so what we think you should do is we think that you just need to go get some drum corps experience and then come back. And that's the most embarrassing thing ever said to me at an audition. So I was like, I've marched, I think at that point it was like, it was like 3 years of drum. I was like,
I've marched 3 years of drum corps.
and then they were
Look
like,
at my sheet again. Look at my audition sheet again.
Yeah, they were like, maybe get one more year. I was like, dude, oh my God. That was the
I'll
most
be leaving, actually.
thing.
It's okay.
And so
Don't worry
then
about
I
it,
remember
guys.
sitting down with my dad and I was like, okay, I know you don't want me to go back. I was like, but if I'm ever going to get the chance to be a horn sergeant anywhere, I have 3, I think I was 18, or this was 18. So 18, 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
Or 18, 19, 20, because I got the bonus year. So I only had 3 years left in the organization and the activity left. I was like, if I want to be a horn sergeant anywhere,
Got to start now.
my best chance is to go back to the Corps that I'm already a 3-year vet at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could be like a 6-year horn sergeant. My goal was to be a horn sergeant, so that's why I went back. Was to be horn sergeant eventually.
That's cool. I've never heard anyone have like that goal in mind. I've just like anyone who I ever talked to about the activity, I was like, did you have like an end goal in mind? They're like, oh yeah, BD, dude. Like it's like either like BD or coach. So it's cool to hear somebody be like, no, I wanted to lead like a group forward. I wanted to lead and create something special and like be the horn sergeant there and like
I would get
make a
kind
culture.
of like irrationally upset when people would leave. At that point, so drum corps has really changed a lot. Now it's more about like supporting the performers and like their individual dreams and passions. But like back then, I don't know if you got a little bit of this, but it was like if you left your corps, it was kind of seen as like abandoning. Or like,
oh no, it was like a betrayal.
It was it was like a betrayal, and so I was really drilled on that a lot. And so like I didn't want to
staff changes in 17 to 18, like when brass staff goes to mandarins, and we get new brass staff in 18. Like you probably remember, like that whole thing just like nailed into our head of like, who cares? Like you're still here, like let them go wherever they want to go. Like that was actual motivation. That was like, who cares? Like because there was people that follow the brass staff and go to mandarins, and like honestly, that's cool. If you like getting taught by those people, go ahead. Like that's everybody's personal preference, to each his own. But like that was definitely used as some motivation for sure. And that definitely used to be a thing of like, like, oh, this person's going to go here. Like, whatever. Like, we're not going to talk to them again.
Yeah. Like some people got like legitimately like, what is it? Like blacklisted or like ostracized from like their home corps because they were seen as like abandoning it. If you went to go march somewhere, you wanted to march because you liked the shows. And now back then I really thought about that a lot. And so like, I would kind of look down on people who I called them like stepping stone corps, right? Who would use Oregon as like a stepping stone corps, and like, how dare they not have the same dream as me to build this corps up or whatever, right? And now I'm like, dude, shut up, it's banned, bro.
It's like,
out.
Dude, let them go get their bag, bro.
They just want to go march, dude. Let them go march.
Who cares?
Now I have that mindset, right? But back then it was all about building it up, and so
me too, dude. Me too. And like, so you come back in 2018, this begins the, as I like to call it, the post GH era. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, because I think that whole situation happens in 17.
Really came to light in 17. Yep.
Yeah. I think that whole thing went public. A lot changes in 18 about the culture and how the activity overall is run. We start introducing, which I'm pretty sure, I don't know if they still do it. I'm sure they do, but like it's a member meeting with only
where they record it in front of the blue coats, and then they're like, hi, I'm
or just
Blink
Blue
from
Pit.
the Blue Pit or whatever.
Hi, I'm Blue Pit.
And then, yeah,
every
Blue
person
Pit became a huge meme.
Yeah, Blue Pit's the only people who care about their drum corps, by the way. Brass needs to step up, because literally even in 19, it was like, hi, I'm Blue Pit. It's like
that's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Some funny stuff.
It was funny as hell.
I remember those meetings. Yeah, it's really hard to understate just how but like how much the activity changed after the GH situation, right? After that, all that stuff came to light. It was like an entirely unrecognizable activity at that point. Like they got rid of rookie talent night. They like segregated the buses by age. So like 18 below 18 people had to sit in the front.
We had to sit in the middle.
It had to sit in the back, and we had to sit in the middle because of somebody here wasn't 18.
17. Sorry, guys. I remember so bad. I was
it.
like, guys, can you please sit next to me?
Oh yeah, we were like, maybe let's just abandon Jeff. What about that?
You guys are like, but we really want to sit in the back, dude. And I was like, guys, like I'll never forget, like Mike Grimes. Shout out Mike Grimes. Like he did, the best he could in 18. He really did. And like, man, he had that shit down to a schedule. He had it down to a science. When he would explain like his scheduling, like to the leadership, it really made sense. Like when he would explain, he's like, I'm really looking out. Like here is, he would break it down like, yes, absolutely. Like I remember when he came to the gym though in spring training and he laid out kind of what's going to change, like the bus sitting and all of this other, and like even who you sleep next to, like in the gym had to be, you know what I'm saying? And so much was changing about the activity. And like you said, it just was like this weird like limbo of like, what even is this thing anymore? And what are we doing? And is this how, like, are we moving towards this, like now everything's kind of like restricted kind of deal? And like, what is this turning into? Yeah.
I definitely remember having the perspective at the time. My perspective on this has changed a lot as I've gotten older. My thoughts, your thoughts on drum corps as a whole change a lot as you get older. When you're young, you don't really realize the things that are happening are weird or like wrong or bad. Like
absolutely.
Like I've showered with staff. Like that was the thing that you would do is you would sometimes shower with staff at like 15 or like the super early years. And now that is like such an unheard taboo type of thing that like when you say that to another person, it's like
what? But it's like, especially on tour, like if you had to go quick, it was like in 16, I remember that was definitely like a thing. Like it definitely just like happened because it was like we gotta go.
It definitely started transitioning out of it by then. Like it was already sort of like a taboo, frowned upon thing, but like there was I definitely remember at one point, I don't know if this was 16 or 15, but like I remember the person that we think is like, the scary figure at OC walking through the showers, like twirling the towel.
Do two things at once.
Do two things at once. Yeah, exactly.
Do two things at once.
Do two things at once.
Do two things at once. Do two things at once.
In the shower.
Grab the PBJ and get in the shower. And you're just like, clean my horn, eat the PBJ, wipe your ass. And you're like, wow.
Yep, I remember that exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So like the culture was just entirely so different after that. Yeah. And like, I think in a much, much better way. Like, I think that at the time I was like, why would Jeff have to sit at the front? Whatever. He's like a 3-year vet. He already knows all this crap that happens here. It's whatever. Who cares? Right. But now you could definitely make an argument, and I might believe you and buy into the position that like drum corps should be separated by age instead of like financial class. I think that like your brother hit on this, and I think that I think open class should be 18 and below.
Hit on that,
and I think world class should be.
Quick.
I'm like, yeah, I think so. It's such culture shock coming from like rookie talent night, showering with staff sometimes. Like all of these things, and then coming into 18 and then them being like, we're going to separate by like gender. We're going to separate by like age. And I think it's how it should have been run from the beginning, but I didn't realize that until much later.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My God. Like, dude, when I started in 2016 and like for the first time, like going to the showers and like realizing that like you're 15 years old, dude. Like,
why was I showering with like 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds at 15? That's so weird.
Dude, because that's just what it is. Like, that is a part of the activity. You had to go because you have to shower. So, like, and a question I have for you, which I've always like kind of gone back and forth with myself, but if you were to do this whole thing again, would you start at 14, 15 if you had like that option? Would you start at that age again?
I think so. I don't really have a whole lot of regrets about drum corps. Like even the ones you that might seem kind of obvious, like, hey, would you go back and march 18 again? It's like, yeah, probably. I probably would do it all again the same way.
Absolutely.
I think it's so hard to divorce who I am as a person from how drum corps changed me, right? Because I wouldn't be anywhere near as energetic, as like goofy, as like relaxed, or like as hard of a worker as I like to think I am if it weren't for drum corps, especially. So I think I would do it again. But if you're encouraging someone who's that young to march drum corps, maybe really take into the aspect of like the maturity level of that person and like where you're pushing them to go. I think they should be around other high schoolers, not so much college students, because like in drum corps, like a 21-year-old hanging out with a 15-year-old, really not that big of a deal because you're all doing the same thing. You're there for band, right? But outside of the real world, if you were like 21 hanging out with a 15-year-old, you'd be like, why? You have nothing in common.
Exactly. Like your perspectives are completely different on life.
it's weird, but because we're doing it in a band setting, it's somehow less weird.
It's actually okay. It just makes sense. It always just made sense. And you never questioned it.
Yeah, never once questioned it. Never, like, there were some things that happened to me, and like you could text me after this and ask what it is. I have one thing in mind, but I don't really want to speak about it.
That's okay.
That like happened to me, and I was like, at the time, I was like, ha 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 ha,
because everyone else is laughing, so you're laughing.
Like, that's so like messed up. Why would anyone do that?
There's plenty of things we could talk about.
It's way too many things.
Talking about the season in 2018, you stressed me out. You stressed me out because I don't even know, like, okay, so the preseason was super fun because like I think you would pick me up for like every single camp and we would just bull on over to camp, and it was like the most fun ever. Like those were such fun times because I could just know, like, I could come into camp late and be like, Dylan, pick me up. Like, and it would be so much fun just like driving over and like leaving.
I remember those were the good old days.
Those were so much fun. I love those drives. But like we get up to the preseason, or we get up to spring training, I should say, and something happens. I don't know if this happened before the season or like right as like, you know, spring training starts, but you become an alternate for the Oregon Crusaders in 2018. When did you find out, and how did that all go? Because I don't even think I remember, honestly.
I don't really remember the exact moment I got moved to alternate position. I don't disagree with moving me to alternate position. At the time, I was very upset about it, but I think that comes from a sense of like entitlement of like, how could you make me a 3-year vet and alternate? What the heck are you thinking? Yeah. But like looking back on it, I was definitely dealing with some like depression issues and like going through some stuff in my own personal life. And drum corps doesn't really let you
kind of just have to move. You kind of have to keep moving if you want to stay afloat with everybody and you want to keep moving. You have to go. You have to keep.
It was my first time like ever really seriously dealing with like depression and like not knowing what to do with this, and I was just so angry all the time. And so I wasn't keeping up with like the workout program. And then eventually, like not keeping up with the workout program, like, and then being told that like I was going to get moved to alternate just started affecting me so much more. Yeah. I mean, that kind of like led into me like not getting like some videos done. And so I don't remember the exact moment when, but I got the email. I remember being like so upset about it, and I was just like, well, I was like kind of in denial, really, because I got there and then they were like, nobody can go onto the field until you finish your assignments.
All right,
and
dude.
So like
day one, Lisa Tatum, it was like the morning of day one, and she was just like, someone in this trumpet section better go tell Dylan Ryder right now that he has to go finish all. Like, it was like only, and I was just sitting there and I was like, and they all looked at me and they're like, Jeff, are you gonna go? And I'm like, I got him. Like I think Connor Lewis ran up there.
It was Connor Lewis. I remember exactly because Connor Lewis sprinted into the cabin, like flung the door open and was like, hey man, I'm here to help you with your video assignments. I was chilling on a bunk because it's not because I couldn't do them, right? It's just like a lack of motivation and like a lack of effort on my part. It was just that I didn't want to, or like couldn't. I don't know.
Also, you're in year 4 at this point, and like I think I talked about this before, and I think we talked about this all the time, especially in 18. You start to realize that like camp season sucks, especially as a vet coming back somewhere, like, and especially as you do more and more years, because you already know what they're going to do at every single camp. You know what every month looks like, what they're going to be working on, and you kind of just want to get to the show music and like starting like building the show. And so every season when you kind of have to go through those like building blocks over and over and over, it gets old, and it's really hard to find motivation to like get those things done, because you're like, I know I can do this thing, just get me to May and we're sailing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like that like whole being bored with the camp season and like the depression, really like having no motivation to do much. Like I wasn't doing too great in like some classes at school, and I've been fixing that literally even now. Like I'm putting in even more work to fix my mistakes from like 6 or so years ago or whatever. But like, I don't know. It's like I said, it's not like I couldn't do it. It's like literally when Connor Lewis ran into the dorm, I was chilling on the bunk and he was like, what's going on? Why aren't you working? And I was like, oh, I'm already done. I finished them like 30 minutes ago. I'm just waiting for him to upload and like submit them so I can go out there. And I was still in denial that I was going to be an alternate, because like one of the trumpets wasn't there for like the first 2 weeks. And so in my mind, I was like, there's no shot that they would let me learn a spot for 2 weeks, and then by the end of that, still give the spot to another person.
Exactly.
And then when the dude showed up and they gave the spot to him, I was like, what? Huh? I was like that shocked Pikachu face. Like,
because I like we were rocking. I completely forgot about it. I was like, Dylan's in the spot. Like, we're going.
Nope. I was like, whoa, consequences of my inaction. Oh my gosh.
The consequences.
And I had so many people like try to help me, and I just like, I don't know. I really took it for granted.
I think it was just.
I don't, like I said, I don't have a lot of regrets. This lack of effort and like lack of care, lack of trying definitely was like my number one regret. But even then, I don't necessarily regret how that turned out, because getting to play Euphonium for a summer. Getting to play Euphonium for a summer, although that first day was the hardest day of my entire drum corps career, getting switched to Euphonium. And then I had a like 2-hour masterclass with like this Euphonium tech who did not want me to succeed. I say that maybe she did, but at the time,
no, it was very hard. Like watching you have to go through that, and like being like, Dylan, you're gonna pick up a youth today. I was like, oh God.
Every instance of like me holding that youth, like we spent like an hour of that 2-hour masterclass while you guys are doing brass block of her just like yelling at me over and over and over again to like, I was like, because I was only used to taking like trumpet breaths or like playing a trumpet. I've never played a different instrument a day in my life. Going from that to playing the euphonium and trying to get me to play this and play it in a show at a drum corps level, right? So she would just scream at me over and over and over again about taking a good breath. And so like there was really a point where I was going to pass out. Like I remember like almost like starting to see like my vision starts to go, and I'm about to pass out from how much air I'm having to move to play this instrument. And it just was never enough. And I remember that day, normally you'd eat lunch with all your friends. That day I took my lunch. I sat in the farthest opposite corner of the entire like drum corps I could find, the most secluded, isolated place. Yeah. And that is the only time in drum corps that I cried for not being happy. Like I sat down and I bawled. I was like the most depressed, the most miserable, like I couldn't even play the instrument that I loved. Yeah. And at the time now it seems kind of silly because I really liked playing euphonium. Actually, it was.
You ended up like owning that shit, and like I just remember like there was a point, and I don't remember when exactly it happened, but I remember at first you're like, "This sucks," but I'm out here and we're doing it, so it's like whatever. Like your whole attitude, by that beginning part was just like, "Well, I'm here and I'm on the field, so it's like whatever." But at some point you started to like own it and just like own the whole euphonium thing, and just like I just saw like the spark come back into your eye, and you just like have that goofiness come like back for you.
What it really was the euphonium section people. Like 18 was such a unique year because on top of all of like the scoring issues, like 22nd place, right, whatever, on top of that it really was like a dark year for us.
In terms of everything else that like
everything
happened.
going on, and so like the bond,
I think we were bonded by trauma.
Like every bonded by trauma, literally. Like everybody in that corps was so close. Like I think there are group chats from that year that are still way more active than any year I've marched. I recently discovered that there is like a group chat of like people from the bus, or like the back of the bus, who are still very active and like active in each other's lives. Yes. And so what it was for me was we were standing. I remember this one day very vividly. We were standing on like a brass block. And I didn't know how to play the show or anything. I didn't know how to play this instrument at all. And so it was Gina. You remember Gina?
Yes, dude.
Yeah, Gina and
hell yeah, shout out Gina.
They go by Kale now, but they were I think they were you know what I'm talking about. Yes. They were their ginger orange hair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love them a lot. Those two people especially got me through that beginning phase. I was just so depressed, but they were like, we play third, you play third. And they were like, you can't read bass clef, but you can look at our fingers and you can know if you're playing the right note. And so I learned the whole show. That's awesome. I learned all of my notes from the show just watching the people around me and playing what fingers they put down. I was specifically told not to play, but there was no shot I was going to hold an instrument like that
for 12 minutes.
Yeah, for 12 minutes and not play anything. I was going to play the impacts for sure, and I did get cut off the brass feature. But everything else, I was going to play. I was going to play everything else. They specifically were like, don't. Like after the brass feature, they were like, are you playing any of the show? And I was like,
I don't think so anymore.
I'm playing one moment where like one of the euphonium techs like literally was like, don't play anything, never play a single note of the show, you shouldn't be playing anything. And the other euphonium tech,
that's so fucked up, by the way, just because it's like, I mean, you're still a brass player at the end of the day. You can still make a sound, and like I feel like that can still be like, you can still teach how to make like a simple sound that can like, you know, blend in with a section. And
I like one of them really was supportive of me playing. Like at the end of the show, they'd be like, so how much did you play? And I'd be like, I don't know. I think I got maybe like this part, and this part. And she was like, awesome, let's go. So I love her. She was like, she made playing the euphonium like doable. That? And like, this one was Cameron Cody.
Okay.
She was like the short blonde euphonium.
Yeah. No, I remember.
Shout out. Her, like Sarah Myers, Dan Hoffman. These are the people who got me through that summer. Those were the three like people 100%. Who really. Like, I'll never forget Dan Hoffman sitting me down and like talking to me about depression and talking to me about how to deal with life with depression and like what is a good healthy way to deal with this and what is an unhealthy way to deal with this. And like, you know, I wish I would have taken more of that advice to heart at the time, but I definitely I carry with that with me today and like how much he impacted my life. Yeah,
Dan was huge over those summers just for like morale.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, got to play euphonium. That was really fun. But if I could go back in time, I'd definitely change that. I could ramble about OC18 for a long time. I've got a lot of.
I have like 3 questions that are all kind of just like the pains of 18 and what do you feel like went wrong? Because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like at the end there, it all just kind of hit a crash course. I think we kind of just hit a wall and the whole thing just kind of blew up there at the end. And it happened so suddenly that I look back on it and I can't even tell like, just like what happened, because like I feel like that was the most tight-knit OC group ever while there was so much like happening that summer, you know?
Yeah. I think it really was because of how much was happening that summer that we all became so much closer. Yeah. You know, some of us became so much closer. So a lot of people took it in the direction of becoming so much closer. And like, I feel like there was a part of me that kind of took it the opposite way where I was so angry. Like Riley touched on this a lot about like, if he could go back and like do anything again, he'd just let more things roll off his back or he'd let it go. Like everyone there just wants to have a good time. Like they're there to work hard. Nobody's paying all this money to come out here and suck or like intentionally ruin anybody else. Right. And so like, if I could go back, that is my biggest drum corps regret is how angry I got towards other people sometimes. And that's not to say that I was just walking around like screaming at people all the time. I definitely like made friends and stuff. Like I was friends with a lot of people, but
dude, you were friends with everybody. Are you kidding me? You were like the funniest person in the room in 18. Are you like, we used to have these acting classes, bro. I'll never forget this like specific one. We used to do in spring training. We used to do these like acting master classes after like an entire day. We would do like an extra like 30 to 45 minutes. And there was one day where this like special choreographer came in. It was someone different this day. And like, we're going to do the master class in the gym because it was too dark out. So we go in the gym, spread everything out. And like, they really wanted us to work on like staying in character and not breaking out of that character and staying in focus. And literally they were like, who, like the guy was sitting in the center and he asked everybody, he's like, who's the funniest person in the drum corps? And all 148 go, boom. And they point right at Dylan Ryder. And Dylan just points at me and he's like, it's you. And I'm like, no, it's fucking you. God. Everyone was like, it's Dylan Ryder. He's the funniest person.
I still stand by that. I still think you were way funnier than me, dude. And that was at Seaside, right? That's at Seaside, I think.
I think so.
That's where the 4th of July parade was. I think I remember this.
And like, you just like the guy was just like, okay, Dylan, go ahead and just try to make everyone break. Do whatever you think you have to do to make all these people break, right? And like literally the entire drum corps, or at least the brass line, the entire brass line's in this gym, and you just start going off and getting in every single person's face, telling all these hilarious stories. And I just remember the entire time I was like, joke's on you guys, I've heard all these stories sitting next to him. So I was just like, I'm not gonna laugh at any of this. So you got to me and you tried to like do it, and I was like, I've heard this story 4 times. Like I've heard this story before.
I think I gave you like a little smooch on the cheek.
Yeah, you did. That almost broke me.
And he was like, whoa there, I don't know if you can touch them. And I was like, use my seat, but it's all good, don't worry about it.
It's all right, bro, we kiss all the time. Oh my god, yeah, we kissed all the time in 19. Who are we kidding, bro? But one last question, just kind of wrap up 18. Did the kid at the end of the show ever make sense to you? Because I don't really remember why we ever like decided to do that finals week. Do you remember why? Like, does that make sense to you today?
I understand the concept of why they put the kid in the show. I always thought it was, I don't know. I didn't really.
It's kind of weird looking back on it now. Like
whatever.
At the time,
we're trying to boost as much G as we can to get to 21st place or something. I don't know.
Be gold.
Yeah, I was like, cool. We're just gonna. I don't know whose kid it was. I think it was the dancers, like the soloist dancer.
Yeah, it was somebody's like little brother. It was
somebody's like nephew or like brother or something. Yeah. And he was supposed to be like Danny riding the tricycle out, and he did the little red rum finger thing, which
did not work out at semifinals.
I love doing this still. Like later on in my years, like I loved that. And like I said, I could talk about 18 for literally forever.
No, that was a crazy one.
Of any year, that's the one I could talk about. But yeah, we'll be here for another 6 hours.
Well, literally, this episode could be 4 hours if we just keep going through every story of that. So we move on to 2019, or I guess going into 2019, I should say. The Oregon Crusaders decide that they're not going to, field a drum corps this next summer because a lot of things happen behind the scenes. We won't talk about that here. We leave that to the adults. But a lot of things happen behind the scenes that kind of just happen, and the organization kind of just explodes. And they decide that they're not going to field the drum corps. So everybody who came from that summer kind of just has to go find a home now. So we're all kind of just, 150 people are just left out here, and it's like, we got to go find our next home. So for me, I remember in 2018 kind of just watching that entire summer and just looking at other groups and seeing who was having like the most fun and seeing like who was the most like bought into their like culture and their groups. And I couldn't help because, touring on the West Coast, getting to see all those groups. When we got to some of those shows where the Blue Knights did their encores, because they do it at a couple shows on the West Coast, getting to watch Michael Freeney in the encore and getting to watch how much fun that group had in 2018. I remember watching their encore at a certain show in Washington. I forgot which show it is, but like watching their encore, and I was like, I need to be in that group. Like, I remember it was that watching the encore, I was like, I need to be in this group. And I'm watching Freeney and I'm just like, he's having the time of his life. And I was just like, I gotta go do this, bro. Like this looks like so much fun. So for me going into 19, I auditioned for Blue Knights and Cavaliers. Ultimately going with Blue Knights. But before we get to all of those results, November camp rolls around in 2019 and I'm going to a Blue Knights camp. It's my first camp for, the season. And I have not talked to Dylan since finals night 2018. It wasn't like I hated it or anything. It was just like the season ended. We went back to our lives and we just
get so busy, right?
You get so busy.
You're so separate from your regular life that it's so like you're still friends with these people even if you don't speak until like the next. We haven't talked in a while, and I still feel like we just walked out that field together like yesterday.
No, like we literally texted before this, like 10 minutes before, and like our last conversation was like 2021. So we hadn't talked, and I'm going to camp that day. And I literally get a text message from you that's like, what time is your flight landing? It was something like that. And I was like, what are you talking about? And you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to the Blue Knights camp today. And I was like, oh, like, oh my God, so much life was brought back into me. Cause I was kind of nervous again. Cause I was like, oh, this is different. Top 12. God, I gotta get this one. And you saying that you were going to be there gave me like, I just felt so comfortable. And I was like, everything's going to be fine. I'm going to see Dylan and then everything's going to be fine after that. And like, that was true. Like seeing you there at those audition camps and just knowing like I knew somebody here, made me like, made me so comfortable. And I was just like, bro, I'm going to kill it. Like, it just gave me all the confidence. Cause I was like, bro, I got my best friend here in the room. Like I'm chilling. I didn't think I was going to make it in 2019. I thought I was like right on the, like I thought I was like right on the fringe and like / getting cut. I was like,
no shot. I thought I was getting in that group. I
didn't think I was getting in visually.
I
thought I was pretty good
so
visually.
hard for that. And I didn't think I was up to snuff. I didn't think I was going to make it at all. And I really like what you said about like, knowing that I was going to be there made you feel more comfortable, because I don't think I would have made it if you weren't there. I don't think that I would have been as outgoing, and because I'm by nature, I'm a very introverted person, which is
so like surprising to me, because he was the loudest person in the room at all times.
Yeah, it's very opposite and like different to how I am at drum corps, where I'm very like energetic and outgoing. But in like audition settings, I'm very quiet. I'm very like reserved person. I feel I'm very introverted. I prefer to spend time like alone. If it weren't for you being there, I wouldn't have had like the confidence or like the confidence to talk to other people. I kind of used you as like a little shield to get into conversations. I'm like, Jeff likes to talk to people, and then I can kind of slide in like, and I'm here too. What up?
But it was so nice because in 19, specifically in that camp season, it was so cool, and it made camp season fun again because people actually talked to each other at those camps. It was kind of a thing in past camps where it was like the vets who know each other hang out over here, and the rookies kind of fend for themselves. But at this camp, like, vets and rookies just mesh naturally. It wasn't just like, all right, we're all gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all gonna eat here, whatever. It was kind of just like, yo, can I sit here? All right, cool. I'm gonna pull up and just sit with you guys, and we're all gonna get to know each other. So everyone just got to know each other organically because everyone was just nice. Everyone was very supportive about each other's auditions. I remember Riley Jarabek went with us for that final camp in January, ends up getting the contract, and I think something just happened. He just couldn't march that summer. Shout out Riley. He is killing it out there in the music world right now. Shout out Riley. One of the coolest dudes of all time. I love him. He's killing it out there right now. But yeah, it was just so cool because like you made so many friends already in camp season. And like, so when you get to that January camp and we're watching Viz auditions and we're just watching everybody else and you're talking to your friends you've made and you're like, bro, how do I look against them? Yo, watch me this next rep, because like, how do I look against like watching everybody go by? And I remember like talking to Joey and being like, me and him were both like, yo, you think we're gonna make it? Like, fuck, I don't know if we're gonna make it. Like, and I remember like the thing that got me in was my visual. Like, it was 1 o'clock on Sunday. It was the afternoon block. It was the last 2 hours of this thing. And they said, all right, so we need to get a couple reps from people we haven't got enough notes on. Doesn't mean we haven't seen you or we don't like you. We just need to see more from you. The first name out of the box is Jeffrey Reckis. First up in line, I went, holy shit, this is it. This is for my summer. And I went and did everything I could. And I was just like, fuck it, here we go. And like, I just remember walking back and they were like, yeah, dude, you're good. You're gonna be all right. I'm like, bro, I don't think I'll make it.
No doubt, Jeff. Dude, there's a reason you got like best marcher I think you got how many did you get it, once or twice?
I got it back to back in 17.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, dude. There's a reason. Like, everyone knew that you were cracked.
I just wish I was not so hard on myself in 19. I was so hard on myself every single day.
That was so funny. Every day.
I never gave myself credit.
You'd be like you'd mess up once doing a block and then it would ruin the rest of your day.
Yeah, it wasn't even that bad either.
And you're like, dude, I'm just not having a good time. I took 9 steps instead of 8. I'd be like, oh, cool.
Yeah, and like circle drill, by the way, not even in the show. It was like fucking Viz block in the morning. And I like, you know, other people messed it up too. But like for me, I was just like, I remember specifically we were on tour at one point, David Johnson, shout out David Johnson. David kind of asked me at one point, we were packing up because we were like leaving, we were going to a show. And he was like, Jeff, why are you so hard on yourself? Because you've done this activity for now like 4 years. And I was just like, coming from Oregon, and not to say anything bad, but like coming from where I come from, and I got cut 3 years in a row at other places. I just felt like I needed to prove myself every single day. So like the director's awards didn't matter to me. Like people saying I was good didn't matter. I was like, it doesn't matter unless I can do it here. Because like I have to prove that I can like stay here for like years to come, which spoiler alert didn't happen because the world exploded. So it doesn't even matter. The world did
explode. That's true.
So obviously, you know, in January, we both get contracted. It was one of the coolest moments of all time, like getting in that vet group. And I was like one of the first names called. And I remember I like waited outside. I waited outside the doors. Like people started walking down the hall to where we were going to go do the meeting. And when I was walking out of the gym, I hadn't heard your name called yet. And I waited outside the door. Like I literally, like people were walking. I was like, bro, I gotta wait because I gotta. And I remember I saw Riley walk out and I was like, yes, let's go. And I saw Noah walk out. Shout out Noah. I see him walk. I'm like, yes. And I go, where's Dylan? And we're all like, no. And I think like, what did you got called? Like you were like one of the last people to run through the door.
Yeah, they called. So there was another Dylan that marched in the trumpet section that year also, and so they called his name first. And when I heard Dylan, I was like, oh my gosh! And then they were like, no, sorry, Dylan Mahali or whatever. I think it's his last name, Mahali. And so I was like, oh. Okay. And so I can't remember the exact order, but I think I was one of the last names called on that list.
Because I waited that whole time and I was like, if more people kept coming and I was like, he didn't make it, did he?
It wasn't alphabetical because your last name is Reckis and my last name is
I was
Reckis.
like the first four, like called out.
It was not alphabetical at all. And so I was like literally dying inside because, I just watched my best friend, Jeff, go out there. Oh, okay. Jeff made it. No doubt there. I knew he was going to make it. Riley gets called out. Okay, great. Riley gets called out. Still keeps going. Still keeps going. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't make it. I was like, if I don't get called with Jeff, then I know I didn't make it. And then like one of the last names called, they're like, and Dylan Ryder. And I'm like, literally my dream had been made right there. Was I was leaving. I was going to march with my best friend again for another summer.
Yeah.
And I remember like when I walked out that door,
through the door.
When I walked out the door, you guys were like, yeah! Like all celebrated right there.
We waited and we just saw you run through the door. We're like, yo, yeah!
It was definitely one of the highlights of like seeing you guys like so excited.
I was so happy. I was like, bro, we're gonna have the best summer of all time. Like this is gonna be so much fun because you could feel it in camp season. You could feel just like the people. I was like, this is a fun group. Like this is solid. Like so now I'm getting to march with you again. And there's so many people from OC going to Blue Knights. Like there were so many people from that OC 18 group that went to BK in 19. I don't remember everybody, but it was like 7 of us out there, like 7 or 8, and that's a lot of people that come over.
A lot of them came from like the Guard, especially.
Yes,
I remember. That.
But when could you tell for that summer that was going to be like unlike any other summer before?
I think there was like a vibe right away, kind of, right? Like I loved the show music a lot. Like the opener was like so different than every other opener I'd ever performed. And so like I loved the opener. And then getting Liquid by Jay Bocook, I think that's what the piece was called. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I didn't even understand the magnitude behind that until
I didn't either. It was really it was such a fantastic. And I remember looking at the music and being like, especially the brass feature, that wasn't even like the brass
part
feature.
Part 2 was in like 6/4 the whole time. I was like, I forgot how to read music.
6/4, 190 BPM the entire time. Yeah. And the brass feature was like the hardest thing I'd ever seen ever. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to play this.
I'm not going to make it.
But I remember like the music. And then like, I think the moment where I was like, oh, this is going to be special is the same moment everyone has it in the drum corps world where like the show announcement, like to the members, like whenever they showed us like the intro and then like the poem, the like, I remember the sound. 3 branches scraping in the wind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think watching the poem and like getting to hear like that slow buildup and then like them explaining what the show is about, I was like, this is going to be so different than anything I've ever done. Yeah. It's a stereotypical Blue Night show of like some like,
what is it?
No one knows. What does it mean? Nobody
I don't know
knows.
either.
It's different.
Attach yourself to the idea. It's like, but that's really what this show was. Like when they explained it to us, it wasn't like years before where we had a product in 18 where it was, this is based off The Shining, attach yourself to The Shining, become this character. And 19 was like, this show is called I Remember Everything. And this show is about your memories in, wherever, drum corps, life, all of these things. So this is kind of your guys' show. So like attach yourself to like whatever it is for you, like legitimately. So
I really bought into that too. Like I always saw the show as like what you're saying, like what like the moment in your life that like changed you as a person, or like the memories in your life that changed you as a person, and how they shaped that into who you are now and how you became like who you are today, and how you could like you remember it vividly. Like I remember the tree branches scraping in the wind. Like like those small details, you just remember that. Like the oatmeal you had to eat in 16 that turned you into who you are now. Yep, got to bring it back. all the stuff that I went through, especially after going through such a hard summer in 2018. Yeah. Right. Like going from 2018 to like this concept of like some event changed you into who you are as a person. And that's what the show was about. And so I really connected with that. And I really felt like I had something to prove.
Yeah.
Because like I got kicked for good reason. I got beaten down and kicked down a lot in like 18, and for good reason. Again, I need to clarify that. But like making Blue Knights was like proving myself wrong, because I didn't think I could make it. I didn't think that I was good enough to do any of this stuff. I didn't think I could ever make it at that level. And so like it was like, hey, Dylan, give yourself a little bit of credit and just shut up, dude. You're fine.
You made it here for a reason.
Yeah, it's like you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
Now do the work.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm not letting this slide like I did in 18. No, there was not a chance in my life I was going to do that.
I think that's why I was so like hard on myself, because I was like, bro, now that we've actually like, because you get to see your friends as you go through the activity. You see your friends who move on and go to all these other places, and you watch some of your friends like become soloists at like top groups, or just finish in final like top 3, and just like you see some of your friends go get rings, and you're just like, bro, if I could get a taste, like if I could just understand what, you know what I'm saying, and then you make it there, and you're like, I can't, I gotta make sure I make every moment count. You know what I'm saying? That's why for me, I put so much pressure on myself every day, because I was like, I gotta make every single moment of this count. I have to like work my ass off to make it. So something that stood out to me so early on, and how I knew this was going to be different, like from my perspective, was in the beginning of spring training. The concept of the member experience is truly the number one priority in this activity. This is where I start to figure out why I do this activity, why this means so much to me, and what this is all about. I can't remember if this came from Austin Green or this came from Daniel Belcher. Shout out both of them, by the way. Incredible people.
Love them both.
Amazing people. I forgot who it was, but we started in spring training at the very first housing site, and it would start in the evening blocks where you would come back from dinner, and it was brass, and we were all together. And at the beginning of the block, we would all come together inside the circle, and it'd be like, at the beginning of this block, go meet 3 new people today. And you're going to go talk to 3 new people for 5 minutes each. And you're going to go like learn about them for real. Not just like you're going to talk to like other people, and it was like that. From there, it didn't feel like forced either. It was kind of just like, oh, cool. Okay. It's like speed dating drum corps.
Yeah. We were just trying to find stuff to do, because it got, snowed out for the first week.
It snowed in May.
Snowed in May, and we couldn't do anything. I'll never forget the day that we had to do like the drill where we're lying, or not drill, the exercise where they had us lying on our back in the wet grass, and it was like 40 degrees. And it was, I
think that picture's still out there somewhere.
Yeah, it got posted to like Couchman, and they were like, man, we want to do what the Blue Knights are doing. And I was like, I was having such a terrible time on that day.
I was like, that was actually a really hard day.
I really like what you said about like the moment you realized it was different was the member experience, because I remember like there were times where like at the detriment of us getting better, like they would argue in favor of us. I remember one time like somebody made the suggestion of like cutting sleep a little bit earlier so that we could finish putting like movement 4 on the field or something like that. And It was like Daniel Belcher and like Austin Green and all these people in charge put their foot down, and they were like, there is no chance that we are cutting into their sleep, even if like something happens. There's no way that we would do that. Like they're going to get their sleep. They're going to get their food. They're going to do everything. They're going to get taken care of. Hour-and-a-half dinners.
Oh my
gosh.
That was such like dude, when we showed up to camp and they were like, yeah, we get hour-and-a-half dinners, I was like, that is like, it was so mind-boggling for me. I'm like, what do I do with the extra half hour? Like, I didn't know what to do.
Like take a nap. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm so used to like shoving my face in like 15 minutes and like, figuring out the next things to do, and like getting hour-and-a-half dinners. Oh my God, like brass rehearsals. Like if we ever went over in like rehearsals at all, that time was like given back to us like for the next block. Like it was like,
we'd be like,
you can come back late.
5 minutes over, guys. Sorry, you come back at like 12:35. Where like at Oregon, it'd be like, oops. 10 minutes over.
Oh yeah.
Box at 1.
It's storming outside right now, and there's hail going on your brand new instruments, and it's lunchtime. Run that back.
Remember when they were like, yo, visual caption head, we just saw lightning literally right behind you.
It's right behind us.
The field right behind you. And then he was
reset?
Like, I didn't see it. Reset.
I didn't see it. You're like, what? Yeah.
Cousin said, yeah. So just like how focused they were on the member experience definitely was like the next thing. And then The thing after that, if it's like the show announcement and like how connected I was to the show, the member experience was like right there. And then below that, but still equally as important, was like how connected we all were as a drum corps. It was no longer the brass, the battery, the guard. Like it was the Blue Knights. We were all Blue Knights.
Everyone
we all
hung
hung
out
out with each other. Like
Yeah.
everyone hung out with everyone. I was good friends with some color guard members. I was great friends with some percussion members. I knew
Yes.
like everyone's name. It was
Dude,
the
that
only
percussion was so
time.
cool.
It was like the only time at that point, up to that point, where I actually knew like every person in the corps, like individually.
Yeah. And it was like, it happened organically too. I feel like it felt like it never was like, it never felt forced upon. It was kind of just, you want to go meet all these people. And like, it was so special because like you said, everybody was so connected. And that's why like that summer to me was just like, it's unlike any other because I felt so close to every single person. But another thing I want to talk about is just how many like differences from Oregon to here. Something I remember in 2019 early on was the Memorial Day performance. And it was crazy because we used to do like, you know, spring training performances for people in Oregon, but like no one would come. It was like, you know, the staff watching you again. It was like, yay, you're doing a run through of the show. This was a legitimate, like people from the area are going to come out and watch you. And that was the first time I had ever experienced something like that, where people actually wanted to come out and see us. And then another thing I actually experienced is the hospitality that, you know, a drum corps can have and that alumni can have on a corps. And we went to go eat before the performance. We went and ate lunch, and lunch was provided for us by, I forgot who, if it was alumni or just parents in general.
I think it was a combination of like alumni and parents.
Yeah, I think it was both. But like there was this whole table spread that went down, and I'd never seen anything like it before, of all this food. And you guys probably think I'm crazy. It was just very like regular barbecue food. But it was like I cried like in line.
All the OC people especially were like freaking out because like getting fed in drum corps, what a concept.
Crazy.
But like everyone else was like, whoa, yeah, we're just getting food. And I
This
remember
is
like
tight.
telling stories of like OC to people, and they'd be like, what? That really happened? And we'd be like, yeah. Is that not normal?
Yeah,
No.
you guys don't just do Go-Gurts and granola for lunch?
Yo, rev up those Go-Gurts. When I heard
Rev up those Go-Gurts, baby.
When I heard that in the last episode, it literally triggered like a core memory. It made the synapses fired immediately.
God. But like, yeah, like when that happened and like they had all that food for us, and then we went to go do the performance and people actually came to watch us. Like in that warm up, like I started tearing up so much because I was like, people want to come see us, and we're getting treated so well, and these people care about us, and like our experience and our like safety and our health and everything is like the priority. And we're also working really hard. Like we're working really hard and all of this stuff is happening. I feel like it's just, I was hitting like my dream, and it was just like, this is everything I've wanted this activity to be. So that's why I got so emotional about that.
Absolutely. It's so weird. It's so weird coming, because at that point we had both marched the same number of years, right? Like that was that was your fourth year.
That was 4 for me.
That was my 5th, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So essentially the same number of years, because like once you get past 3, whatever, it's all the same, right? You already know. Like I think like 2 is like you kind of understand. 3 is like, okay,
you figure it out.
Okay, you know, yeah, okay, you know how to do this in and out, forwards, backwards, any direction, any way that you need to do it.
Everything from there is just cake.
Yeah. And so it's so strange coming into it at like year 5, finally feeling like a valued member of the corps. And that's not to say that there weren't some certain people at like OC who didn't value us as members or performers. It's just that like I feel like there was when I speak about OC and the downfalls of like, or like the wrongdoings with them, it's definitely more of like the organizational and like the like,
yeah, it's all the
CEO,
exterior things,
board of directors and stuff like that. And that's all like stuff for adults to talk about, like you said, but it's just crazy. It really is strange. Like finally finding that after 4 years, like there were moments that we were like, I can't believe this is really how people get treated. Like it's like, it's open. It's eye opening. It's like, this is what this is supposed to be. Yeah. This is how this is supposed to be. And I'm sure it's not just BK that has that, right? I feel like it's like, I feel like if you kind of go to a place that has that more money to spend, or has like is more well off, better run organizationally, you're like, oh, it's not supposed to be like that. Like there's a lot of things that you let slide because that's just what you think drum corps is, until you find a place that actually treats you like an adult, that treats you like a respected member,
That's
that
the most
like
important
values
thing.
your time, your ethic, your work ethic, your like how much dedication you have to this.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
Wow.
it finally
Yeah.
made sense.
It was insane. And like also it felt like you said, like getting treated like adults. I feel like lights out wasn't like a thing you could get punished for if you came in even like a minute late. It was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I think we had some like nights in Denver, like at Inglewood, where we got to like just go out and kind of like see the city after like a performance. And like I remember we came back like a little late and like everybody's still up, like lights out is there, but like no one's like yelling at you when you're coming back. It's like, oh, where'd you go? Like, cool. And like, bro, like how about during spring training when we were across from the taqueria? And like people would just
like
people would just go to
is such a great thing.
We would all go to the taqueria together. Like, bro, in 18 we had a core meeting because 3 kids went to a McDonald's on a lunch break.
They didn't even go to McDonald's. Remember, they had it Ubered to them. Yeah, they didn't even make it to them. They didn't even go to it.
Yeah, and I remember like we had a whole meeting about that, and they almost all got like kicked out. Like it was like a whole insane. And like this thing, like bro, like in California when we got there, like I remember we all Ubered over to In-N-Out for lunch, and we came back, did the block, and went to the Rose Bowl that night. Like
I remember that, yeah. Or how when it was like a free day the next day, like we would go stay with some friends we had in the area. Like we went and stayed with Sandy. Shout out Josh. Or like Riley Jerebeck at San Antonio, right? We went and stayed with them.
Remember we saw Luke Pistachio?
We did see Luke Pistachio. I sometimes forget that actually happened because it feels like such a fever dream. But
I forgot until right now. But I remember we did. It was very brief.
All those fun times, or like the Inglewood you were talking about. We went out and had Denny's at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, and it was fine. Like it's okay. They had trust in us. You know what I was saying?
They're like, you're adults. Like the majority of the age of the core was about like 18, 19. I think at that time it was a much older actually core, so it was like 19, 20-ish.
Everyone was like 17, 18, or 19 at least.
Yeah, we were all like old enough to know right from wrong.
Like it was the Florida boys who were like the young ones.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. It was
they were the youngest ones.
The Florida boys. That's a good name for them.
They were the best, dude. All 3, fucking Tiger, Demo, and Luke, bro. Oh my god, shout out all of them. I love them so much. Did you ever feel like Viz rehearsals were like super chill, and it always was like fun to go to a Viz rehearsal, and then like brass rehearsal, like you got your ass kicked in, and that was kind of like the general thing. And then we got to BK, and those things switched. And it felt like for me, those things switched. I hated going to like, I love visual and I love doing all that, but like visual rehearsals were terrifying. Like those were the things I was like, I know I'm going to go get my ass kicked in visual rehearsal and then go get taken care of in brass block.
Yeah, I definitely I feel that. Yeah, I feel like but that's probably just because at BK our weak point was the visual.
Yeah,
and so like our brass was doing pretty decent, but our visual was falling behind where the rest of the core should have been. And also like part of it was like Zach, I think that was his name, the caption head.
Yeah,
I really liked him a lot. I loved him, and like, this BD mentality of like we're gonna get stuff done, we're gonna be great, and like either you're gonna come or we're gonna make you great, right? And so like it took a while for us to kind of like click that connection of like, okay, let's just go willingly instead of like having to be drugged there, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then I definitely could have done without yoga like every day.
Yeah, it was nice though. I did enjoy that, and like
my body is not like yoga, but I recognize it. I feel like doing yoga. I'd much rather do yoga than like some of the hard PT that we used to do. Or like
definitely. Like it was really nice. PT. Yeah, because we would like do like a very chill lap every day to like start the day. Just like honestly, it would just be a thing for us to like wake up and like talk to each other, and then it was like, okay, cool, let's like get everything.
You remember that day we had to do a lap, and Zach was like holding a burrito
in California? Like, yeah, that was like the start of tour.
He was like, "Look at this thing. I think it should be illegal to have burritos."
Look at my baby big. Blue Nights.
It's so funny.
Oh man, that man had a bang every single morning, and I don't know how he did it.
Oh yeah, the Bang energy drinks.
And then I drank a Bang for the first time, and I was like, "How does he do this every single morning?
Like, this is awful.
This is so much caffeine at once. I feel like my heart's about to pump out."
We dared one. Remember that one time? I think it was in West Virginia. We dared someone to like take a drink out of Zach's energy drink during
like in the lot. So it's funny. I have a bullet point written down here that just says Keith Ty. I don't know why I wrote this down, but I just have Keith Ty written down. I think I just wanted to talk about it and just acknowledge that he was my favorite caption head, my favorite brass caption head of all time. My favorite Viz caption head is Ryan Sprinkler, but my favorite brass caption head of all time is Keith Ty, without a doubt, hands down. One of the coolest people ever, one of the most like professional people ever. Like he just looked out for us, and he was like, I love Keith Ty, dude. I support that man wherever. Like this summer,
Absolutely.
like every time, like I don't really watch the Cavaliers that much. It's not just I just never watch their shows that much. Like every time I got to see them this summer, I had them on my TV because I was like, I just want Keith Ty to succeed, bro. I just want that man to make it to the top.
Yeah, Keith Ty, man, what do you say about this man? I feel like because he was so much younger than us, like I think he aged out in 2016.
Yeah, he
was
did
marching when we were marching, and
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
he knew the culture, and so like him being so young to us really helped him connect with us a lot more. And then also just like one of the smartest like brass players I've ever met. Like he really knew how to put together a really good staff, and like he really knew how to make the team work.
They
and
all
like
gelled. Oh
his method of like finding moments in the show and like the 7 impacts of the show that matter the most more than anything, right? Like he would make this list and he'd be like, if you bag anything else in the show, these are the moments that need to be like nails, fire, as intense as you can possibly play. And like we would rehearse those like every day. We'd hit those in warm up and in the lot every day. Those were our moments, is what he called them. Yeah.
Yep.
And so like I've got a huge amount of respect and love for Keith Ty, just for just who he is, what he did for us, and like how sweet and nice he was. How anytime you talk to him outside of a rehearsal setting, he'd give you like I went through our little phone conversations, like I said earlier, and literally there was a text that said, just heard the first awkward Keith Ty laugh of the season.
Yeah, man.
It's like, so like he's so awkward sometimes, but then but when he stood in front of the brass line, he commanded the brass line. And it was just so different to how he was outside of rehearsal. It was so funny.
Yeah. It was so funny because he was awkward like that sometimes. And he was just like, bro, ultimate professional in the circle, bro. Ultimate professional. But as we move along and we get into tour in 19, we get to tour. What is it like for people, like from your perspective, what is it like to finally have people like watching your lot and like people coming in with cameras and like recording our stuff? Like, what did that feel like to you in your 5th year?
I think if I hadn't been doing it for so long at that point, I probably would have been a lot more nervous about it than I was. Just because like I was kind of used to it a little bit. Like there would be like every once in a while, especially in like the Pacific Northwest, you'd get a little bit of a crowd for Oregon, right? Not anything compared to what Blue Knights got. Like we would pack the circle, right? Anytime we played away, like San Antonio especially, like there were so many. I've never
the videos out there. I just watched it.
I think we had to like expand the size of the circle because of how many people wanted to come in and sit.
Yeah, we let people in, and there was all those people who were inside filling the whole thing. And then like if you watch the video back, forgot what channel it's on, but if you watch it back, like there's a whole other like group of people that are sitting outside the circle too, just like watching in. And like that was like, like you said, if I hadn't been doing it for as long as I had, I think I would have been so nervous in that moment. But I think at that point I was like, this is what it's all about. Like, finally, bro. Like, yes, like come watch our lots, dude. Like, it was so much fun getting to see that, and
it felt so good. Finally, yeah. So like, because like us as performers, we know the hard work that goes into it.
Exactly.
So I'll stand out and watch a lot. I'll watch any lot, dude. I don't care. I'll jump between lots and lots. Like I was watching like Spirit. I was watching like anybody else in that lot I could find. Like Genesis. I was going to every lot and just looking at them and watching because I know the hard work that goes into these cores. Even if you're not like a top 7 or a top, even if you're not winning, right?
You want people to come see you.
You just want. That's what it's all about. Yeah. I said earlier, you said what makes you come back, and it's the performance energy of giving it to people and having them give it back to you. Right?
That support back.
So it was so like important, and like getting to hear people that actually enjoyed the show, like getting to hear people that are like, "You're my favorite show this year." My dad was like, even if you weren't marching Blue Knights, this show would still be my favorite show of the year. That was so validating. So many
people too.
Yeah,
and it was crazy.
I felt so good because I was like, oh, I don't even care that. I don't care what score I get as long as I'm putting out something that people really love and enjoy. That's all I cared about.
I hear from so many people that they love that show, and I was like, for real? And they're like, dude, I love watching that show back. And I was like,
I'm like,
that's
thank
insane
you.
to me.
It was
Thank
the
you.
hardest thing I've ever done.
Oh my God, it was the hardest thing I've ever done to this day. Like mentally, I think all season, that show, every single show was, I had to be locked in 100% all the time. Like I feel like in past years, there were some shows where like I was able to just turn autopilot on and just move and go. And with this show, there wasn't a second I could take off. I felt
from
like
the very second it started,
the
when we had to
downbeat.
do like the backwards crawls out
You
of the
have to
front,
be in every second.
that was like that was like so physically demanding. And like looking at it, it doesn't look that hard, but like you're like,
But then to get up from here and then
they were like, get as low as you can, backwards crawl out of it, and then do like this and like fall over and then like sprint, like bear run to your spot.
Yeah.
And then get up and then sprint to your spot and then come in and play like a soft dynamic.
Yeah.
I was like out of breath the entire time. And so every time I watch my GoPro, I'm like, how did I don't understand how I did this.
Yeah. I look back at it and I'm like, if I march 3 minutes of this show, I'm blowing my knee out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'm too fat to do this now. I'm too out of breath and out of shape to do this now.
I'm prime dad bod like all season round. But yeah, 2019 was such a magical year, and it just felt like every single day, especially on tour, like especially like as you know you go through your years, it becomes like a world tour. Like every single night, especially when you keep doing years in the activity, every single show, like we ended up seeing somebody at every single show. I'm pretty sure in 19, like I swear to God, every single show we met up with somebody. Like both of us met up with somebody, because there was somebody at every single show. And I think that was the coolest part to me. I was like, bro, we're stopping here tonight. Like we're gonna see so and so tonight. We're gonna see so and so. Like
a certain aspect of that is like you can't, with as many years as we marched, like you just point to a core and you're like, I know 4 people there, 3 people there, 2 people there, 6 people there, 8 people there, or whatever. And you're like,
I could go see hi to, you know, whoever.
You've marched with like 400, 600 people at this point. Yeah. So like, yeah, you've got people everywhere. Right. And so like that like Memorial Day thing, all I could think about was the photo of you and me and Tori and like how happy we were to like, I was like, whoa, thanks for coming. I'm so glad that I was like, are you going to come to drums? And then Tori was like, absolutely, this show is awesome. I'm gonna come see it at drums.
It was so cool. Do you have a favorite memory from 2019 at all?
Oh, buddy, what'd you do? I hope I'm still here. My cat's walking on my keyboard.
Gotta snatch the cat, bro. Gotta snatch the cat.
I hope I'm still here. He just opened up a bunch of tabs. Yeah, I'm still here. Great. He just opened up a bunch of tabs. My favorite moment, honestly, I think my favorite moment is a show that we didn't even get scored at. My favorite moment is we were so excited for Drums Along the Rockies, and it's getting rained out. Like as we speak, it gets so rained out that like the turf or the grass is like so wet that nobody can perform, and so everyone has to do a standstill, and it's not getting graded, it's not getting judged or anything. Yeah. And then I remember being so bummed about it because I was like, this is the night that we were supposed to make BK history, because at that point Blue Knights had never beaten the Cadets, and so we were hyping that. We were like, we're on their tail, this is going to be the day. And so I thought that would be like the best moment of my summer, but my best moment legitimately was like
that Denver show.
The Denver show, the moment that they were like, all right, Blue Knights, we're marching, we're gonna do the show. Yeah. Like they came out here to see, because
other people left. Like other people left that show when it started raining. Like
some people like left the show. Some people only did the standstill, and we were the only core that actually got to do like an actual performance. And like, the energy was magical, right? Because that audience was there to see us. And
do you remember like walking in and like they over the PA they put in that like rumbling noise for us like as we were walking onto the field? Like that for me was like, dude, this is the coolest thing of all time. Like we're walking on the stadium, we got the mirrors in our hand, and we're walking onto the field, and they're like, from Denver, Colorado, and you just hear this rumbling over the PA. It's like, and like the crowd is getting louder, and you're like, I'm in Mile High Stadium right now, and I've been here 3 times before, but this time it's like our home show. And it was like,
and then getting to do Eyes after.
Eyes in Denver. Like, bro, that was so sick. And like my family was there to see that. And I was so glad we got to do it, because they came all the way from Missouri to see that show. And so I was ready to be like, I'm so sorry that the show got rained out, but we got to do like it was like a whole present for everybody who stayed in the audience. And it was like, it was so much fun.
My parents were actually there too. I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. So yeah, that was definitely like the highlight of my summer was that getting to perform drums. And that's not to say that like, oh, peak, and then it all went downhill. It was like peak stayed like this.
And it just kept doing that.
It just
the
kept
whole summer
rising. Yeah.
Something that sticks in my mind, you know, we talk about like, you know, getting to top 12, getting to these, you know, groups in these places. And I think, you know, in sub 12 cores, you kind of think about like, oh man, I got to make Saturday night. Got to make finals. And like, for me, when I finally made it there, we walked out of the tunnel in Lucas Oil and I look up and I finally get to read across a banner, finals, like championships. And I'm looking at that clock right below like Lucas Oil, like on the focal point. And it says like 9:45, like we're late. We're in the late slate. And I'm like, I made it. Like we made it. We're doing this thing I've been talking about for years. And I performed the show and I'm getting teary eyed before because I'm like, I did it. This is everything little Jeffrey is like dreamed of in this moment. I finally, all the work's paid off. I did it, right? Like I had old directors who had taught me in high school who came to see me in the lot, like all this stuff. And I performed the show. Last thing happens. We start walking out the field. And it was like the most weird feeling in my chest I ever had. I was so confused because everyone around me was kind of like bawling their eyes out because, you know, it's the end of the season and all that. And I was just having this whole like mental breakthrough of, Jeff, it wasn't about this the whole time, brother. Like you're walking off the field and you're looking around at all your best friends from that summer and all the people you got to spend all this time with. And that whole group was so close with each other. I was like, it's about this. It's about these people right here. And it's about like the fans who come out and see us perform and like putting on a show for them. None of this Saturday night or the score or any of this stuff like actually truly mattered at the end of the day. It was all about this because I finally found a home that I want to come back to every year and like build this group up. So like, I don't know if you've ever had that moment, but for me, from that moment on, like, I don't know, it just became like a different meaning for me every day.
I completely agree. Like I was one of those guys crying at the end of the show. Just because of how much that, like we hit that, like this thing where you had to like put the head down and we made the dots and they said home. And I was like, you're so right. So true, bestie.
I am here.
Like, I was crying. I was crying so much. Like walking off the field. I think there's a photo of me like carrying the mirror. Cause of course you got to carry the mirror. Carrying the mirror.
It hurt.
I hated that mirror so much. One of my favorite things to do with the mirror was like I don't know if you remember this, but I'd take my mouthpiece and I'd be like, oh no, there's a bug, and I would just like hit it. Because they weren't actual mirrors, they were like plastic with like tinfoil underneath.
So there'd be so many like bumps on it at the end of the season.
Allegedly, I put a couple bumps in the mirrors because
listen, they fell over every day if we ever used them. Like they would fall over every single day. So definitely not you.
Smack into it.
It's totally chill. Totally chill. So
I remember that though, like getting off the field, and then you were like, "I'm not even sad. I don't even care." I was like, "Yeah, whatever."
I looked at you and I was like, "I'm not really that sad." I was like, I was having that whole mental breakthrough as I was talking to you. I was like, I'm not really that sad right now. I don't know why.
And then we sang "I Go On." Boom. Yep, that's.
I turned right to you as soon as we started singing all together, bawling, and like we go to trumpet meetings, we go to brass meetings. I'm bawling the entire time. I
remember that. Yeah, I was like, it's strange that Jeff isn't crying. Because normally you're the more sentimental. Like
I am. Usually I'm the one crying all the time, and like, yeah, I didn't cry on this one until we sang "I Go On," and I just thought about everything from that summer and all the people. And I was like, yep, this was it. This was the best summer of my life. So we move on to 2020 and a lot of people come back in that year. Like so many people come back. There's so much vet retention. Like that show was going to be fire. That show was going to be gas. There were so many vets coming back. I swear to God, I have a question down here. And I was like, do you think we would have been top 5 in 2020? Because I swear we would have. I think we would have. I think we would have went top 5.
I think brass 100 because the vet retention. I think it was like 18 to 20 trumpets that had come back.
Like we almost were like, no one can audition because like almost everybody wanted to come back.
The vet retention, especially in like the brass line, was so high. Everyone was coming back. It was literally set up to be the perfect year, and that's what makes COVID hit so much worse. I feel
like the potential of what could have been.
There's potential, right? The what ifs. And Jeff, I kind of blame both of us for COVID. Do you know why? I don't know if you remember this, but I vividly remember us talking about the 3-year burnout, where like after you march like 3 years in a row, you get kind of burnt out a little bit, right? And so we were like, I was like, when I first heard about COVID, and we were talking about it a little bit, and we were like, oh man, I kind of hope the season gets canceled. I don't want to do camp. We literally had a conversation about this.
Yeah, because we thought it was gonna be like, oh yeah, I think we can. We thought it would probably just skip to like it'll probably skip camp season, and we can just go right to the season. So like we'll just do everything from home, and maybe this will just like cool over, and we'll go back. Like
it's us. It's our fault.
God, I remember that now.
Fault, dude. We did it.
It was us. We spread it.
Yep.
Spread it everywhere. I just remember that camp season. I was so hyped because I was like, bro, we're all coming back. This show's gonna be fire. We're gonna be great. We're gonna do so good. And then in March, they're just like, they have the leadership get together, and they're like, hey guys, we're gonna do the core meeting here in a little bit, and we're gonna tell everybody we're shutting down. And I was like, and I remember I just like sat on my couch bawling my eyes out. Like during that, like I didn't have my camera on for that whole meeting. It was over Zoom, and I just let it play, and them telling us like no one's gonna march this season. Like drum corps is not happening this summer. Nothing is happening. And I was like, what do I even do from this point? Like I've done this every single summer. This is a part of the cycle. Like I'm just about to get back on for like a new season. Like what are we talking about?
That was really hard, honestly. I really like fell out of it when COVID hit, because then after COVID, I remember the 2021 season was starting up, and like I also saw a meme in our text that was like, there's no shot that drum corps is having a season in 2021. There's no way. Yeah. And so
because we were like, because of the way this like whole system's set up, like, bro, if 1 year doesn't happen, we were like, oh, for sure this thing's dead. Like,
we were like, we don't even know if drum corps will exist after this anymore.
Yeah, because like this whole thing is like kind of funded by the fans. Like the people who come out and give money to these groups and give money to like the shows, it's like that's where the whole thing, like how the hell is this thing gonna like survive? Because like all the groups who don't have money like that are gonna like fold under. We've watched some of that happen where corps have had to take years off because they're like, we can't afford that. And from there, I also kind of got burnt out of it too, because you take some time off and start thinking about drum corps in a different way, kind of like how we've been talking about drum corps in this podcast. And you start thinking, oh, that was kind of weird when that happened in 2016. And oh, all these other things start to really come back, and you're like, if this thing comes back, do I want to go? Like for me, that's kind of how it happened, was like, do I really like, because my whole thing was like, bro, what am I going to do? It was like a whole crisis of who am I? Like when this thing ends, because that's what all I've been doing. And I was like, bro, that should not be the attitude at all. It was like, there's so much more to this life, and there's so much more going on. And I felt like I had to like break from it. So when COVID happened, I was like, cool, this is my breakaway. Like I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this since I was 14. I need to go and like keep being me, because there's plenty of other things I do. And it was just like, I kind of just took a step away from the activity for a while. So when in 21, they kind of announced that they were going to do something, and they started reaching back out to everybody. And I was kind of seeing that the world was on fire, and not just like in health reasons. It was just the entire world kind of felt like we were all just divided and against each other. And there was just so much more problems than, can we field a drum corps this summer? I was like, millions of people are dying. Our country and world is more divided than ever. People are fighting constantly, and we're worried about getting drum corps on the field. That's personally where I was coming from. And I was like, this kind of sucks, because I feel like there's so much more that we can do as individuals, like in the world. If we've learned anything from drum corps, it's like how to adapt. You know, I look back on it now, and I'm glad that they were able to make it survive and being able to make do with what they had. So that leads me to, what made you come and like do the 21 season?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I also kind of felt the same way of like, I think like, what's 6 years versus 5? Like what can a 6 year give me that like a 5 year couldn't already give me? Like my COVID already kind of ruined my age out. My age out was going to be perfect, and then it felt the don't matter age out, and you missed it.
Everyone boo Jeff. Boo Jeff in the comments.
Yeah, but like there really was I didn't want to come back at first. I like had already made the decision that I wasn't going to come back. I like stopped replying to all the email stuff, just decided not to do anything of that. And I was just going to work, and that's what I was doing. I was just working and saving up money. And I was working this I was working this job. I was working as a pizza delivery driver for Domino's because
Hell yeah.
it's really all you could do during the pandemic was like
Essential workers, dude.
work. Yeah.
Yes, dude. I stocked cookies on shelves, bro. Just make some money. I was like, hey, bro, what's first off, I was like, I'm working in the summer and saving money. What is this life?
It's a crazy
like?
concept. Yeah.
It's a crazy life.
And then I remember like I had like I was a primary closer, and so this is kind of relevant. I was a primary closer, and I would like come home from work at like sometimes like 3-4 in the morning after like a 12-hour shift, getting paid like essentially nothing.
Yeah.
And I just remember coming home one day and like sitting down and being like, dude, I hate my life.
Yeah.
I like at this point I wasn't involved in any music ensembles. Like after COVID hit, I like kind of took a break from college too. I took a break from everything really, and just like took some time to figure out my life. Like
absolutely.
I think a lot of people really.
A lot of people did. A lot of people that I know that I went to school with definitely did. Yeah.
I took a break, and so I wasn't in any music ensembles. I essentially stopped playing trumpet at this point. I didn't really know what I was doing with my life again, even more than I already didn't know. And I came home one day and I sat down and I was like, dude, I'm the most depressed I've ever been in my entire life. And I was like, what happened? What changed? What was the thing that like, what happened? Like, it's not as if I'm still playing video games. I'm still like semi talking to my friends. Why am I so depressed? What's missing? Yeah. And eventually I came to the conclusion. I was like, it's music. Yeah. I stopped doing music. I stopped playing trumpet. I stopped being involved in like marching band. I stopped like having that musical atmosphere around me. And that's when I realized that like I was either going to live the rest of my life not willing to really be alive, not really wanting to be alive, or I could give music another shot.
Yeah.
And so I remember I picked up my trumpet like the next morning and I just started practicing. There were some nights where I'd practice in my car at like 2 a.m. after I got home because I was so like, I need to get back to where I was. And I didn't tell anybody at BK I was coming back because I didn't want to feel like I was given the spot because I was a vet. Yeah. I wanted the spot because I wanted to earn it, even if it was the 21 season. I wanted to earn it. That's cool. They still had stuff. They still had spots. And so I literally just at the very one of the last days to turn something in, I just slid in an audition tape. And like 2 minutes after I submitted it, Matt Urbanik texted me and he's like, "Yo, Dylan, are you coming back?" I was like, I mean, yeah, if you'll have me, I'd love to come back. Matt Urbanik, shout out. Yeah. Shout out. I was like, if you guys will have me, and if you think I'm good enough, then I'd love to come back. I'd love to come back and be
It's like, oh, duh, Dylan, what the fuck?
And he was like, I'm going to tell Keith right now. Part of that audition process was sitting down and like explaining in a video why you want to be a Blue Knight. And so I remember sitting in my car at like 3 a.m. after I got off work, and I was like, I'm not really happy, and I miss music, and so I'm just trying to see if this is what it is. And so I went back, I submitted that audition tape, and I went to a couple like satellite audition camps. And it kind of worked out really because I finally achieved a dream of mine, which was being leadership in drum corps. Shout out Jeff for stealing that from me in 2020. I remember we both went for leadership that year, and it was you and then another person. I think it was Alyssa.
Yeah, it was. Like, it was Alyssa. Yeah.
The head, and I was like,
I didn't think I was going to get that.
I was like, those are great choices, and I absolutely think Jeff 100% deserved to be on leadership, even if it meant that I couldn't be. And
I didn't think I was going to get that. Like, they called me out in 2020 for like during a camp, and it was Matt. Like, Matt called me out, and he's like, "Hey, so we want you to be a section leader this year." I was like, what the fuck?
I was like, yep. I was like, that makes sense. I was like, those are both two individuals. I was like, Alyssa is so nice and so sweet and so caring and so like welcoming and inviting that makes perfect sense. And I was like, and Jeff is like the hardest worker I know, right? So like that totally makes two. And I was like, so I'm just gonna vibe out for my age out. But coming back for 21, they pulled me in with Nick Martinez. Shout out Nick.
Shout out Nick.
Yeah, and so he pulled me in, and then we talked about how like I could be like like the co-section leader with Nick, and Nick would be head, and I would be like the co-section leader. And I was like, absolutely. I was like, this is a dream of mine, is to be on leadership at a drum corps, and that was like something I had been working for all my life, and so I finally got it, and that was really really great. And so, I'm don't regret coming back to 21 at all.
Yeah.
That was probably like, go ahead.
What was I just wanted to ask, just like kind of, getting back into that. So obviously, you sign on for the summer in 21. And I was always curious because I did come to see you guys that summer because I need to see you and I need to just see everything. Because once I knew you were there, I was like, well, fuck. Okay, well, I guess I gotta go see him now. Like, so you guys were like rehearsing in Missouri one day, and I came and saw you guys, and it was like the craziest thing because afterwards, like after the rehearsal, like I had to say hi to everybody that I marched with from like the stands. And like I couldn't like I even came down to the field, but I had to like on the field like have to stay back and like say hi to everybody. And it was so weird. Like, and I completely understood. Like I was like, I texted Daniel on the way down and I was like, I want to give gifts. Like I want to bring Gatorade because that's what every vet does, or every alumni, they bring Gatorade and they bring something else. So I was like, I want to drop off Gatorade. Is there any way I can do that? Like contact free? Like, can I just like drop it over here and be like, come and get it? Like, is there like, so, eventually I did. That was all great. But like, I was curious from your perspective being there, what was that season and tour like? Because I'm pretty sure, what was it, just like a month or something? Like just a month of drum corps?
Yeah, I think it was from like July. Instead of starting at like June, it started in like July. I think July 1st was our first official day. And so we spent like 3 weeks. It was very similar to my first year of like the tour schedule of like a couple of weeks of move-ins and then like a barely any. But I think by the time we started going on tour, I was already writing like the dots on like the numbers on my arm.
Yeah.
Like I think before the first show, I even had 21 on me somewhere. Like that's
because I think it was like a 2-week tour, right?
Something like that. And like I thought it was a really good time. I really enjoyed it a lot. I had Nick there to like help me, and I had Noah Kobe.
Oh yeah, dude! Shout out Noah.
Kobe. She marched BD that year in the video,
Awesome.
And then also did Blue Nights. She was like, "Can I get done? Can I get done with BD? Can I come to Blue Nights?" And Keith Ty was like, "Absolutely,
yes, please."
So, yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
Getting to see her again for a whole summer. And in a lot of ways it was different, but a lot of ways it was just kind of drum corps again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to like take drum corps out of that like mindset. Like it was you're still performing in front of people. Everyone still wants to work really hard. Being in leadership was such like a fun, fantastic thing to do, and like getting to work with Nick, getting to really make sure that like help nurture like a good culture in the section, because it was only 3 vets. It was me, Nick, and Noah, and that was like the only vets in the trumpet section. And so it was on us and like a group of like 8 other vets from the brass line from 19. It was on all of us to help.
Yeah.
It was our job to nurture the culture back to where it was from 19 and before, right?
Give it some like, culture.
Yeah, we had to figure out a way to do that. We had to figure out a way to like instill the idea of what being a Blue Knight was in
even in such a short amount of time,
a short season, and such a short, like I was only a second year vet. I didn't even really know what it was like
the culture of being a Blue Knight, and like,
I wasn't as familiar. All I knew was like 19, and I could just try to bring that like loving and like family and like treasure like all together,
and just the drum corps experience for people who were doing it for like the first time. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people who were doing it for the first time out there.
100%. Yeah. I love the trumpet section. That's probably, and maybe it's just like the last trumpet section you get is like your favorite. But like, I definitely feel like, huh?
I said, oh, word. I already know it's coming. Yeah, no, that was actually my favorite because they also appreciate the Dylan Ryder age.
No, I mean, like, I felt so, maybe it's because I was a leadership and I felt so much more personal responsibility over these people. Absolutely. But like, I really connected a lot with the people that were under our tutelage. Like me and Nick, if you remember in 19, something that they did was they sat down individually with each person at like one meal break, the leadership did, and they had like a conversation with you about like what they thought you were doing good, what they thought you could improve on, and like other stuff. You remember this? Like Kendall, David, and Nick would sit down with one person. Like one of them would sit down with one person per lunch break or whatever, and they'd have a small little conversation with it.
Oh, if you don't remember that, no, I think my meeting was every night before lights out, and we'd be sleeping next to Nick, David, and Kendall, and I go, David, am I good? And every night David would be like, Jeff, shut up, you're fine. I'm like, David, I took today, and I was like.
I think I remember you talking about it, and you were just like, I think you had yours maybe with David, and he was just like, yeah, dude, you're just way too hard on yourself. You need to chill out, and you just need to like enjoy it. But that was something that me and Nick did again. I did so good this whole podcast of not like.
No, you've
making a
done
movie.
good. You've done really good. You've done so good.
Yeah, unfortunately, it let it slip.
That's all right, dude. You can do it. It's my
that was
potty
something me
mouth
and
on
Nick
this
did again.
podcast.
Was we sat down and we had those talks with people and we tried to make them feel as connected and as like good as those talks made me feel. I was in charge of ordering the shirts for everyone, which
Hell yeah.
everyone gives me a lot of crap for how the shirts turned out, but nobody was willing to help me make the shirts, so I don't want to hear anything. I also fronted the like $500 that it took to buy the shirt. Yeah, like I had a lot of money saved up, and I didn't want to order the shirts before everybody got them, or I didn't want to ask for money before everyone got them. So I made everyone fill out their shirt sizes. And then I had them delivered to the core headquarters and had them delivered to us eventually.
Nice.
So I fronted the like 600, I think it was like $700 or something like that. It keeps going up every time I say it, but it was a lot of money. I fronted that for the core, for the
$1,000 for that.
It was 10 grand, right?
10 racks.
I fronted all that I don't know. I wouldn't change anything for it. Like that was such a good time. I did get paid. I just want to put that out there. Everyone paid me. I got all my money. I'm pretty sure.
He got his money back. He got his money back.
It was all in cash, I think, but
but we won't talk about it.
Yeah. It was such a great summer though. I
was so proud because like, bro, you got to do the eye solo. Like you got to do the eye solo in Indy.
I was the first person to play the upper split eye solo in Indy, and then I was also the first person to mess up the upper split eye solo in Indy. Let's go, baby! That's 2 records right there.
Let's go! I was so proud, like watching that, man. Like I was just so like, I just remember sitting there and being like, "Yes, bro! Like he's doing it."
Yeah,
like I was just so proud. I was so happy for you.
If it wasn't the COVID year.
I was so happy for you, man. Just like seeing everything you were doing. I was just like, bro, he's doing it. He's rapping it out and everyone's loving the Dylan Ryder age out. I'm like, I'm getting a little FOMO. I was like, I'm down. I remember sitting at home. I remember I watched you and I tweeted out as I was watching, I was like, I'm coming back in 2022 for DCI.
Yeah, how'd that turn out?
I proceeded to, not really do much. And then Keith Dye called me up in October and he was like, do you want to come back as the section leader for the section? And I was like the guy, like the section leader. And he was like, yes, we have no vets and like, it's going to be all rookies and it's going to be a brand new like system and you're going to have to lead everybody. And I was like, word. Okay, let's try it. And I was like, let's try it. This is my last year. Let's see what I can do. And I called up Joey. And I was like, Joey, you need to come with me to one camp at least. Like, I know if you're going to go anywhere, like, do your thing, but please come with me to like one camp. Because I was like, I need somebody here. Because it sounds like no one's going to be here. So I was like, I need somebody. So Joey came out with me. Thank God. It was such a fun time just being with him for that weekend. But I went back. I did the weekend. I saw all the staff. It was great. It didn't feel like how I used to when I was doing everything. At that point, I think I had taken so much time away from everything. And even today, I think I'm still okay with like not doing that year in 22. I think I'm still okay with it. I'm glad I get to talk about everything now. I think 19 was the perfect way to end everything because
I also think that like I think the people who aged out in 19 definitely got the best like possible age out just because that was I like it was such you said it, but it was such a magical like Christmas land.
It was the perfect storm of people, show, staff, everything all in one. It was the perfect storm of everything you could ever ask for. And I like seeing 22 and seeing kind of drum corps coming back. Drum corps is surviving barely, but we're making it back. We're putting posts out every single day that people need to audition because we don't have enough people auditioning. And I'm like, this thing looks like a mess. But also I'm like, I'm kind of not feeling the same way I used to about this thing anymore. And that's kind of just where I was at the time. I was like, if I'm not 100%, because that's the only way I would ever do it. I was like, if I'm not 100% in on this thing, they don't deserve to like have me for the summer. Like I didn't feel it was right. If I'm not 100% in, it wasn't right to just be like, yeah, I'll take it so I can say I did 2022.
How do you come back to something after taking a 2-year break from it like that?
Like you
don't know any of these people anymore.
And it feels different. Like I can still march because I had just taught high school. So I was still all in that mindset. I just taught all these kids how to march. So I was like, I can still march. I can still play the horn. I was a music major. Like, all these things I can still do. And I came back and I was like, I don't know if I'm like too in the nostalgia being at Inglewood, but I'm here and this doesn't feel like when it did when I first walked into Inglewood. Like I thought it would coming back 2 years later. And I came back and I was like, I don't feel that passion. I don't feel 100%. This doesn't feel like the drum corps that I used to like do. And it just doesn't feel the same. So I was just like, I don't know. It was nothing personal. I was just like, I remember I reached out and I was like, sorry, Keith, I won't be doing the summer. And I could tell it sucked. And I could tell he was probably like a little upset. He's like, you dick. So like,
I mean, I don't think it was that. I think even if Keith Tai was a little disappointed that you didn't march the summer, I think that's just who the Keith Tai is, right? That he's just such a good guy that he's going to be like, yeah, it doesn't feel right for you. That's understandable. I get it.
He was. Ultimately, yeah, everyone was pretty solid with it. I remember I talked to a lot of people and people were really supportive about it. Like, it was very nice. Like, I was like, I don't think I want to do my A job. And people are like, that's cool. If you feel that way, and, don't do your thing.
It's better that you recognize that at the beginning rather than like, 4
in July.
And July.
I was like, I hate this.
Yeah.
So I guess if I could leave off in this interview, there's one last question I could ask. What's something you wish you could have told yourself before you started this activity?
I feel like you asked this, and then he had a really profound answer of like,
it was good, and I just ended it.
I feel like as you go through, at first you're like, whoa, this is really intense. It's drum corps. It's really serious, blah, 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 blah. And then by your final year, you're like, dude, this is just band.
Yep.
It's just band. And so I feel like I touched on it a little bit earlier, but like if I could go back and tell myself something, I'd be like, dude, it's just band. Yeah. Same thing Raleigh said of like, there are people here who nobody would pay thousands of dollars to come here and then like
just
purposely not do anything. Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like hopefully I'd be able to tell myself to be more open-minded, and like, I'm very proud to say that I'm not, I don't really recognize myself as a person from who I used to be like back in high school, but who really does that? Who really recognizes themselves 10 years ago or whatever? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so like, I would tell myself to just chill out, enjoy the experience more. Don't get so mad about things you can't control. And that's what I feel now is like, if something happens and I can't really control anything about it, I'm like, well, whatever. Like, it's
gotta roll.
They just gotta roll with it, dude. That's just how it goes. And so like, I'd be like, just
keep rolling.
Don't be so upset about things that you can't control. There's no reason to be mad about other people or like things that are out of your hands, really.
Yeah.
Just focus on what you can do and what you can affect and what you can change. And try to be like a more positive influence for more people in the Corps rather than just like, I don't know, like rather than just like I don't know. I think about like,
I feel you though.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of hard to
I know what you're saying. I know where you're going. There's, I think I lied here because there's one more question because I did want to ask you this, and this is quick. I swear it won't be long, but this is important because like, I feel like, it always felt like, and this is not like in any way a diss or a hit, but it just felt like when drum corps was going to be done for you, that was going to kind of be it. Like music was just going to be done. Like it never, like I remember, like you said, like you took a break from music, you took a break from everything. So I was just like, oh, when drum corps over, that's going to be music. That'll be it for him. And then seeing you now find your passion again for it and, continue pursuing like music education. What kind of motivated you to get back into that and continue pursuing that? Because that's what you're doing now, and you're killing it, dude.
It really was like COVID hitting, realizing that like I'm trying to hint at the idea without like actually coming out and saying it, but like I just really didn't want to be alive. I was like the most depressed I've ever been ever. Yeah. And so realizing that it was because music wasn't in my life. And so eventually it came to a point where I was like, okay, well, I'm miserable as I've ever been miserable before. And one day I'm going to be 26. Like I was 24 at the time. I was already like upset, or 22 at the time. I was already upset about like how everyone else in my life was graduating their college. They were finishing their degrees and finding their passions and stuff. And so I was like, I can live with my life going on for the rest of my life with this like what if. Like, what if I did music? What if I actually tried to do music? What if I put in my best effort and tried music? Or I could be 26 one day anyway, right? I was like, I'm gonna be 26 one day anyway.
Exactly.
And I can either be 26 with the what if answered, and like the question answered of could I do this? Could I actually do this? What happened? Or could I be 26 and then just be like, oh man, what if I had done this? What if I had done that? What if I had gone back and done music? So eventually, it really was just like COVID. I found my passion again with Blue Knights and doing the 2021 season, and then making a commitment to myself that I was going to be 26 with a music degree. That's the goal. I was like, I'm not going to do the what if. I'm not going to be like, oh, who, like, you know, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself anymore. I'm going to go out there and do it. I'm instead of being like, oh, I don't really know what I want to do with my life, I was going to go out there.
I'm just going to go do it.
I want to do band. I want to do band. I don't care how much money I make.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And I think that's what matters, is just like going after what you love no matter what, at any cost. I think that's, you know, at the end of the day, like, I think that's the only way you find some purpose.
It took me a while to get there, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I'm in like percussion methods and like high brass methods. I'm in conducting, which I don't know why I didn't think this wouldn't be a class, but like conducting is like some of the hardest stuff I've ever had to do.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
I'm very glad that I get to do that. And then I get to, it's a whole different kind of challenge. And that's like,
oh yeah.
A past me would have been like scared or like upset or like nervous, but a current me is like, oh yeah, great. A new challenge. Awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. That's so awesome. Like, I can just like, it's cool because we haven't talked in a long time, and I can just like, the growth that's happened like with you is just like, it's so fun, and getting to see online, seeing just like you going back to do your thing and going back to school and doing all this stuff. I'm just looking from afar and I'm like, bro, I'm so happy for him. Like, he's killing it. He's going back and he's just like, I love to see you just fight for your passion and just do what you do. And yeah, dude, it's just so awesome to see see you do what you do.
It definitely helps knowing that I've got some great people, even if they're not actively like involved. And like I think that we're always going to be friends, no matter how much like we talk or don't talk. I just feel like that, you know, life has taken us in separate directions. We're across the country. It's a little bit hard to communicate, but I still feel as close to you as I did, like, you know, when we walked off the field in 19, right?
Yeah, like literally when we said goodbye finals night at Lucas Oil. Like, I still, like, every time I see Dylan Ryder come up on my phone, I'm like, yeah, like, that was one of my best friends. Like, still is. Like, whenever we reach out, it's just like boom.
Literally, yeah, it still feels like that connection is there, and I'm glad that still is. I hope it never goes away, especially. And I need to be better about that. I feel like I lost touch with a lot of people, and I've
picked up that shit from you, because I get the same way now, where I'm just like, I don't know, I just don't reach out.
Yeah, like I think I went like 3 years without posting anything on Instagram or Facebook, and so I kind of went ghost for a little bit.
I went 3 years without posting on Facebook until I posted about this podcast. Like, I didn't post for 3 years, and I was like, hey, world podcast. And like Instagram, I waited a year, and I was like, it's my birthday. Like,
but I'm really the support, I feel like, is something that will really helps me, knowing that there's a lot of people who want to see me succeed, or who are rooting for me, even if they're all the way across the country and haven't really said anything, right? Like, just knowing that people want me to succeed. Nobody wants to see me fail. So
I think there's going to be a lot of people that watch this and be like, hell yeah, Dylan Ryder. Like, I think there's going to be a lot more people than you think that are going to be like supporting in the comment section. I hope they do. And you guys definitely should. Definitely. Yes, please. Because, dude, support the boy. Come on now.
I do. I like the podcast every time. Thanks. And I also have the notifications on. So
yes. And with that, we're going to wrap. I'm still trying to figure out how to do an outro for this stuff, man. I can never figure out a way, because I'm terrible at saying goodbye. I'm terrible at, like, I just do the classic, all right, well, I'm going to head out of here. But we're going to do a real outro. So this has been episode 4. We've made it to episode 4. This is episode 4 of the Meet the Bus podcast. This has been an amazing episode. It's been so much fun just getting to have this conversation. And I feel like, instead of this being some podcast or some show, once again, as soon as we start talking, it's just us talking about drum corps. And I hope people really enjoy that. I hope you guys enjoy that at home. If you did, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what was your favorite part of the episode, and share with your friends. Share the podcast with everybody you know. Let the people know that some good stuff is going on here. I think that's it. Thank you so much for coming on, Dylan. I really appreciate it. This has been an amazing episode.
I'm really glad that you asked me to be here, man. Yeah, bravo. Great host, Jeffrey Reckis. That's right.
That's going to be a wrap. This was episode 4 of the Meet the Bus podcast. I'm finally done. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
I want to know